Welcome to Warfighter Sanctuary. Here we talk with local veteran business owners, their military journey, civilian life, their business, and the services they offer.
I am the soldier's lost voice. Come on!
Lock it in and listen up. Here's your host, Andre Rivera.
Is this what they want?
Welcome to the Warfighter Sanctuary podcast. I'm your host, Andre Rivera, and we are sponsored by the 501c3 nonprofit organization, the Veterans Resource Network Foundation. The Veteranette. Veteranette is dedicated to empowering our veteran community by creating a directory where we feature the veteran nonprofits, resources, and veteran businesses. The concept is when veterans are transitioning from the military to the civilian sector, they have this capability where they can find other veterans in industries of interest so they can reach out to them for guidance, mentorship, and also for the civilian sector to hire veterans, especially smaller veteran businesses that are starting up and trying to build their network and their community. And the reason being is because many of our veterans, when they served overseas and they were in combat situations, they're not building their network back here. But so when they leave the military and transition to the civilian sector, they're at a disadvantage because they don't have a network. They don't have a professional network or career network that they can go to help them with guidance and mentorship. So that is what we're creating here. We're grassroots, we're a small operation, and we've been doing this podcast for approximately 2 months. And you are episode 10. So today we are featuring a Bike for Vets, Joe Medina, who is the founder of Bike for Vets, and he's going to talk all about that. He's also a combat veteran, and I want to talk about a little bit about that too, the distinguish between veteran, because when I grew up, veteran meant a Vietnam veteran when I was growing up in the 80s. And then somewhere, I think after the 2000s, veteran meant anyone that was in the military. And it's not that I think that, anyone is better, but we're different. Anyone who's been deployed, I believe, is a little different than someone that just served at home and never experienced a combat deployment. But the term veteran now is used for all of us. So I think we can talk a little bit about that too. And I think that's why, we call it the Warfighter Sanctuary, because it's open to everyone that served, but it's primarily created for the warfighter who's dealing with a little bit more than the person that had just a hard time in the military. We're dealing with people that saw some trauma, and as a corpsman, you saw a lot of that, I'm sure. And we'll talk a little bit about it, as much as you want. But this is our first sailor here. We've been a little biased, I think, because I'm a jarhead, so I've had all Marines, I think, and a few soldiers, and we haven't had Air Force yet, though. But you're going to be the first sailor here. So it is my honor and privilege to welcome Joe Medina to our podcast. No problem. Okay, so it's my honor and privilege to introduce Joe Medina, who is a combat veteran, warfighter, and he deployed to Iraq. We'll talk a little bit about that. And he was a Navy corpsman who served Marines, helped our Devil Dog. We call them Devil Docs. We treat them and respect them just as we respect our Marines, and we'll talk a little bit about that as well. But today he's here to talk about Bike for Vets and how it helps our veteran community as an alternative to those of us that are disabled. I can relate because right behind your grape is my OM Duro SE bike, which I love. Nice. It has 10 speeds, and at 50 years old, I'm popping wheelies or trying to, and I fall more than I land them, but guess what? I do it anyway. Airborne all the way. But yes, I am 100% an advocate of riding bikes for veterans because I can't run anymore. And I was an Anglican Marine, so I was in a special operations capable unit where that was part of my life, was being cardio, strength. That was one of my strengths in cardio. And it hurts me as a grown man now that I can't run and I can't do these things. And then a Marine, my machine gunner, my assistant forward observer from Miami, he had 2 of these SE bikes. He's like, Andre, you gotta get one of them. So he dropped me off like a drug dealer. He's like, here you go, take this. Nice. Bike. He's like, hey, if you need more, let me know. And I got hooked, man. I was riding my bike, and it was during COVID. I was riding my bike like at midnight.
Yeah, same.
Through North Miami, just feeling like I'm at home. I'm like, you know what? I just feel like, I want to get all that energy. I want to do something, and I couldn't. And I was a paratrooper, man. So I was physically fit my entire life, and I'm like, I can't run anymore. So then bikes was so therapeutic, and it's so therapeutic mentally,
Yeah.
until you run into jerks on the road, which we can talk about that too, because I'm sure you have your experiences. I got hit the other day.
Definitely. No, I've had people throw bottles at us.
Yeah. Oh, wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So with that said, tell us a little bit about Bike for Vets.
All right, so Bikes for Vets is a charity that I started to introduce and engage veterans in the South Florida community into cycling, just as a way to exercise, recreational activity, getting to and from work. A veteran could have, a DWI, be restricted from driving, or not have a vehicle, not be able to afford a vehicle. Now they have a sense of transportation. They're not so invested in the bike, so if it gets stolen, it's not such a big loss. I want these veterans to get these bicycles. A lot of these bicycles are abandoned in apartment condominiums for like an excess of 4 to 5 years. The condo associations do their best to send out notices throughout emails. They post signs, and eventually what happens is they have to get removed because people leave their bicycles behind. Miami, as you know, South Florida in general is like a transient city, and so many people come and go, people expire, and they leave their bikes behind. So we're not only a solution for veterans to get up and moving, but also for property management to clear up space. The last community that we got bicycles from, they were actually paying pods to store these bicycles, and they were there for over 2 years. Nobody claimed the bicycles. So finally they heard about me, what I was doing for the veteran community, and they decided that I was a good person to receive these bicycles. So I was able to get a lot of these bicycles repaired, up and running, and redistributed to veterans in the community. And it's an awesome feeling. One of the great events that we had, I did with Jose Belen, who you have to have here on the show.
I know, Jose. I am sorry, brother. He left me a message the other day, and I'm gonna call you, brother. I'm sorry. I've just been swamped. I've been swamped with so much, but I haven't forgot you, man. And I know he did the same to me. He didn't call me back. I didn't call. I mean, it just.
He's got a good heart.
I know
he's a combat vet. He was, in Iraq during the invasion, occupation, and a real solid dude who really cares about the veteran community and the families. And we did a great event together. He invited me to bring these bicycles over to distribute. And I said, hey, why don't we just paint on the bicycles? Because he was doing like a spin on Art Basel called Vet Basel. And for those out there who are listening who don't know about Art Basel, it's a huge art event that brings an international crowd. Everyone comes down to South Florida. All the businesses kind of like jump on board and have kind of like art displays, art galleries, pop-ups, the whole nine. And we did our own thing called Vet Basel, and cookies. A local dispensary down here in Florida hosted it, and a few restaurants. It was great. Veterans got to paint on bicycles and ride home with bicycles. We called it Veterans Art in Motion.
Nice.
And it just felt so good, to put in all the love into these bicycles, because when I receive them, they're greasy, dusty, dirty. So I get down there and I clean, the bicycles with chains. Relubricate everything, test everything out, changing out tires. Some people just abandon bicycles because they don't even know how to change tires. So part of what I want to do with Bikes for Vets is also empower the community and teach people how to do basic bicycle repairs. And anybody who wants to volunteer, eventually will have a skill set that will gain employment. There's a great program down here in South Florida called the Magic City Collective, and people volunteer. They have mentors, mechanics, who teach them how to repair bicycles, how to help people solve like basic bicycle problems. And
I'm in. You got me. I need that because I feel ignorant because there's some
money that way.
Basic things I don't know about my bike.
Jobs.
Yeah.
I know.
I haven't had a bike since I was a kid.
Yeah.
So this is this is a big requirement. You wouldn't think it, but like, if you rode a bike when you were a kid, you know everything about bike. No, I don't. I haven't changed a tire in forever. I have no idea. I know the concept. I remember doing it as a 12-year-old kid, but I don't remember that. That was a long ass time ago. I don't want to say exactly how long, but a long time ago.
Yeah, so this program empowers the community, and I know at least 5 people who are professional bicycle mechanics at really high-end stores, Specialized, Trek. They have careers. So I think this is a great program and a great way to give back. So Bikes for Vets is not only giving back to the community, but I'm also biking for vets. You know, when I ride my bicycle, I do single speed events typically. So track cycling events, that's a fixed gear bicycle, no brakes. I'm either racing on a track, it's called a velodrome. And it's when you see in the Olympics and people crash out, you know, going at high speed. I do those kinds of events, and I also race fixed gear crits, and usually that's kind of like closed circuit that's in a city, usually an urban area. It's closed off, and it's high speed, lots of technical turns, but it's a great community that I've come to really love. And recently I got into the gravel community and riding, you know, ultra endurance gravel races, 100-mile plus events.
That's crazy.
On a single speed. So
I do 15 miles and I'm good for the day. That's it.
Yeah.
That's 100 miles continuous with no brakes. How does that work?
All right, so
It's gotta be brakes.
All right, so the first time that I ever did 100 miles in my life, I did it on a fixed gear bike with no brakes. I rode from my apartment in Little Havana all the way to Key Largo and back. We stopped at a great restaurant called the Conch House.
And
amazing.
that was it.
Yeah. And then we turned around.
How long was that break?
About like an hour.
Okay.
And we had to stop a few times because we had a few flats.
Yeah. But that's insane. That's insane.
So I knew that I could do it, like from the get-go. And so I had done, you know, other training rides, and you know, once you do something like that, it just builds confidence. Like you know that you could do it. And what I love about cycling that I think is great for the veteran, especially combat veteran or any veteran really who has that specific training, and it's the preparedness that goes into it. You know, the night before a ride, you know, you set up your equipment, and you know, you're like Rambo. You put on your bandana, you know, and you got your, you know, nutrition. Those are like your MREs, your meals ready to eat, your survival rations. Like
you put your loadout tunes. You put your loadout tunes in the background. Put some corn. Put some
definitely for me it'd be like Wu-Tang
Audio Slave.
Well,
I think of the 203 time. You know what I mean? That was our loadout tunes.
For sure. Our stuff was like more like Wu-Tang Clan. You know, getting ready to do some fucking ninja shit in Iraq. You know, so you know, you know, first aid kit. In this case, you know, we use a repair kit. You know, because the casualty is typically going to be your bike. You know, you might run out of air or something like that. You know, from a puncture. So you want to get you know, up and running again. So that's kind of like your.
But I'm sure there's a camaraderie aspect to this.
Oh, 100%. There's a shared hardship, you know.
And shared like mission, like you're on this adventure together.
It is a mission. It is an adventure.
And I think we missed that, you know, like going on deployments, going on these little things.
Exactly.
Because that's how we bonded.
You
like,
see it.
You know what I mean? Yeah, absolutely. We didn't bond in formation doing freaking clean the chow hall or whatever. We bonded when we went on a deployment, when we went on this adventure together. Because now it was like a movie, like the movies we grew up on. You know, like we went on this adventure. We went to the Philippines. We went to Taiwan. I mean, not Taiwan, but we went to the Philippines. We went to the Poland. Like I went to Poland with Marines, and that's one of my greatest, you know, memories was training with the Russians and training with, and go, hey, remember we trained with the Russians? We got into a fist fight, and then we got kicked out of this bar. Like, dude,
yeah, lots of Nazdrovia. You know, I was out in the Baltic.
Yeah. Oh, you were in the Baltic Sea?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was in
I did some NATO stuff.
Yeah, me too. Baltic. I went to Baltops, and that's where I was with the Danish. We trained with the Danish. We trained with the Russians. We trained with the Polish. And that was interesting because the Polish do not like the Russians, and the Russians do not like the Polish. And this was 2002. So you can imagine now, you know.
For
crazy.
Sure.
But that's outstanding, man. Look at that. I got to be careful with this. But yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Good times. So that's what I have going on is these endurance races and
what's the purpose of the endurance races that you do? You bring awareness to the whole mission, and but we didn't talk about it. We're talking about suicide here too, and suicide, not just suicide, because we talk about suicide, but I like to say this too. Suicide amongst veterans, amongst warfighters, is that's a tip of the iceberg. You know, that's the tip of the iceberg, and that's what gets all the attention. But right under the surface, there's anxiety, there's depression, and I think most of the community, a lot of the community is feeling that. And then that is like when it gets to the worst, you hear about the suicides, which I believe is a lot more than 22 a day. But right under the surface, before they get to that point, there's a depression, which is a lot bigger of a demographic. And then there's the anxiety, and then there's the not finding purpose, not finding, you know, that stability, that routine that we once had, you know, that community that we once had. And we lose all of that. We lose that tribe, we lose the routine, we lose the stability. So let's talk about that, because so you know, Bike for Vets, when you left the military, you know, can we talk a little bit about that? When you left the military, how was your transition from?
Sure.
Yeah.
All right, so when I first got out of the military, I worked a bunch of odd jobs. I wasn't sure exactly what I wanted to do. I didn't want to waste government funds on just trying to figure it out in school, you know?
Yeah.
So I worked a bunch of odd jobs at nightclubs here in Miami, Versace Mansion, a lot of like on-call catering stuff with Barton G. I made amazing contacts, great experiences. And,
but is that what you want to do when you first got out? Like, is that what you wanted to do?
Well,
or did you kind of just fall into it?
I fell into it to supplement income. So I was a freelance photographer. I was shooting like headshots, model editorial, portfolio development stuff. I got published a few times in the Miami Fashion Style magazine. Did a bunch of work with local students from the Art Institute who were in fashion design, and was on like a kind of like a fast track to New York City. That was the goal, but something in me just really shifted, and I wanted to do something else and make a difference. And I got back into the medical field, and I got into it through the VA. One of the reasons why I gave up on the medical field when I first got out is that I didn't even know that I was qualified to do anything as a corpsman, because they tell you when you get out, you're not going to get a job as a nurse, you're not going to get a job as a paramedic, you're not going to get a job as a phlebotomist.
Who tells you this?
Job recruiters, the Navy. That's what they were telling us, because you're not certified. Like, you just come out with nothing. It used to be that they had like an LPN test that you did, or you could do your.
That's insane.
But
that's insane to consider that, especially you, because you got a combat action ribbon. You've been out there. You know, you're doing more than these guys. You're seeing more than these guys that have all those little certifications. Who cares about your? It's like me. I called close air support, and I wasn't JTAC qualified. You know, I guess I shouldn't say that, but but I was OJT qualified for 10 years, for a decade. And the guy that was JTAC, I don't want to call him out, but the guy that was JTAC qualified froze and freaked out on the radio, and he didn't know what to do. He's like, he's talking like 300 meters. I'm like, 300 meters? That fast mover is going so fast, he can't 300 meters. You got to use a unit of measure. Use a landmark and use that as a unit of measure, and talk to him in his language. Don't talk to him in your language. Don't talk to that fast mover in the map language. Talk to him in what he sees language. Crap like that. He just couldn't figure it out. So same thing. You're more qualified than most people, and they're not going to give you the certification. That's crazy.
Right.
Is it still like that, or have they updated?
No, they've totally updated it a lot. They have some great programs.
Thank God.
That take you from like military medic. FIU has the program.
Awesome.
Miami-Dade College has the program, and it's an accelerated rate. They consider your experience now, but before, when I got out in 2005, they didn't have that for us.
Wow.
And it wasn't until I went to the VA hospital. I really wanted to work at the VA. I wanted to do something for veterans. I wanted to give back. Like, that's what I was passionate about. You know, and I talked to a medical clerk that was at the post-deployment clinic. It's like the clinic that you go to when you first get out of the service. And the old man, he was like, I got in through the CWT program. I was like, what's CWT?
Yeah, what is that? I never heard of that.
Compensated work therapy program. And basically your treatment is work. They reintegrate you into the workforce. You know, because here I am, you know, though I was working at restaurants, I was bartending, drinking on the job with
overqualified. You were overqualified for all these jobs.
And now
they're not producing a future for you either.
I didn't have the discipline. You know, I was working these night jobs. So what's great about these CWT programs, it gets you on a schedule. You know, you have to
your
show
battle
up to
rhythm.
the VA
It gets you in your battle rhythm
at 8:30 in the morning, and then you sit there with your group. You have a group, and then you have your career therapist, and you talk about your job searches. You talk about if you're going to school, what your goals are. And then you get assigned a different department in the VA. They say the best way to get a job at the VA, if you want to get a job at the VA,
it's like an internship,
entry-level job, housekeeping. Get a job as a housekeeper, and then once you're already in the system, once they open up a job, especially in the same hospital,
of course,
you're that more likely to get the job, because you're already in the system, you're already invested, you already have the security clearance, and then people know you, they know your work ethic. So those are just some
that's awesome. I didn't know about that program.
I didn't know anything about it. And then while I was in that program, I was assigned to like medical supplies, right? Because we're not supposed to do direct patient care, even though like I have those qualifications. minor surgery, bedside nursing, emergency medicine, preventive medicine, chemical, biological, radiological warfare. Like, I still, I'm a patient, and so no patient hands-on stuff, not even patient transportation, I don't think. So I was distributing medical supplies, and I was pushing a cart up to a sterile processing unit, and somebody was posted up with a bunch of tattoos and crazy hair, and he said, "Hey, were you a corpsman in 1st Marine Division?" I said, "Yeah," and I looked at his ID badge, and hanging off his lanyard was the shield with the caduce, the Fleet Marine Force corpsman logo that you get when you graduate Fleet Marine Force service school. And that's a school that's actually prescribed by the Commandant of the Marines. So in my certificate, it has the Commandant of the Marine Corps signature, which is pretty rad. And he said there was a job opening. And I said, "For real?" He said, "Dude, I got this job because I'm a corpsman. We have familiarization in surgical instrumentation. We're reprocessing surgical instruments." I was like, whoa. So he introduced me to the supervisor, this and that. "Hey, this is a corpsman, solid people. I know this guy, And I replied to the job on usajobs.gov officially. And I gave them my resume, all my skill set as a corpsman that was applicable to the job. And, about 3 or 4 months later, I got the call and they hired me immediately. The process was like really fast, like drug tests, then HR got on board with a human resources, kind of like welcome aboard class. And then I started working. They sent me to sterile processing school in Arizona. So they sent me to Flagstaff, Arizona with a government credit card, like of an allowance of like $2,000 for like 3 or 4 days of training, and to teach me to be like the best sterile processing technician there is. And I took my job very seriously.
That's fantastic though, but so they gave you bad juju. I mean, a bad gouge when you were leaving the Navy.
For sure. And you know what?
That's horrible. They gave you bad gouge, man.
Oh, yeah. You know what was one of the things? I'll never forget his name.
Yeah.
I know who you are. You know who you are. But he said to me, and this was at the South Florida workforce, he said, "You're never going to get a job in the medical field. You have no certification. What you did in the Navy doesn't count." He was an Army guy. And he said, "I could get you a job as a security guard. I could get you to get your license." I remember when I seen him at the VA, because he worked with the VA hospital. And I said, "Hey, I got a job, and I'm in the medical field again, so whatever you're telling people is incorrect."
BS. Yeah, it's totally BS.
And every time I seen him, when I got a job in the emergency department, so now I went from sterile processing technician, reprocessing surgical instrumentation for reuse, to direct patient care, advanced cardiac life support. Hey, guess what? I'm working in the emergency department now. You said I'd never get a job. And I hadn't gone back to school at all. I had not, done anything. And it was just off of a random, meeting with a corpsman that I used to serve with in 1st Marine Division.
So what you're telling me is that a veteran network would help you. See, that's what I'm talking about. But that was done through luck, and that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm trying to do here. That was done through luck. That day he was in the right place at the right time, and you showed up. But imagine if we try to do that with intention, and do it with a little more intention, where it's purposeful.
Yeah.
And you get out of active duty, and you go to veteran directory, and you're just like medical, and then you see all these medical, or you say corpsman, the key word, and you see these dudes that had corpsman in their profile, in their veteran profile, the word corpsman is there, and also, oh shit, there's 5 corpsmen in Miami. Well, let me reach out to one. Oh shoot, he was at, what were you, 1-5? What'd you say? Marines?
I was in 1st Marine Division.
1st Marine Division.
Yeah, and I was with 1st LAR.
So can you imagine that? You put a key word there, and they pop like, dude, this guy was there what years? Like, that's what I'm trying to create. Like, we do that with intention, so we could find each other, But at the same time, like, oh, well, why don't you use Facebook? Because I don't want to put all that personal information there. So we can have a directory, which we do, and then you become a member, and then you have a little bit more access. You're vetted that you are a veteran because you get your DD-214. Now you can find other veterans within our community.
No, that's genius because it's like it saves all the heartache, of all this.
But that was great though. That was outstanding. That and you got bad gouge also, and wow,
from another veteran from the South Florida workforce.
Oh, wow.
So sometimes when doors close, other doors open, and like you say, it was luck, and
You were going to talk about HUD VASA?
Oh yeah, so that's a great program too. So not only did I benefit from like the CWT compensated work therapy program, I also was able to gain housing, and they were able to get me in with a priority in Section 8 housing. Section 8 housing is housing where the government assists you, eventually the idea is to grow and gain more money. So as soon as I got hired by the VA, I announced to my HUD VASH director, hey, look, I just got a job. I'm making X amount of dollars. I think that this program is better for some other veterans
that need it right
more
now.
Than me.
Got it.
So
excellent, and that's how we should be. That's the kind of community
success
we should
story
have.
from the CWT
absolutely.
program.
That's great. And see, those are things that's the whole purpose of this.
And
podcast.
my mentor actually with the CWT program is a Marine.
But see, but what you're talking about, like I've never heard of that. And I've been a Marine since 1994. Never heard of anything you're talking about. I run a non-profit. Never heard of anything that you're saying. Yeah. And I think these are great programs, and that's why, again, it's good to have a directory and have these testimonials and have this podcast where veterans can this is actually purpose. You're not just telling war stories here. You're talking about stuff that can actually be valuable to the next veteran. And that's what I'm trying to capture, brother. That's what I'm trying to capture, which is excellent, man. That's great. Those are great programs. So are there any other programs you want to talk about before we talk about your service? Like, you want to talk a little bit about your service?
Sure. I mean, I'll talk about one cool program.
Yeah, take your time. We're only at 30 minutes, man. We got
cool. So there's another program. It's called IT. I forget what it stands for, but it's for veterans that have like more disabilities. It could be like veterans with stroke or extreme disabilities, brain damage, stuff like that. Personality disorders, mental health, and it's like a work therapy program. It's not like the CWT program where the idea is to get the veteran a job. They tell you from the get-go too, like with CWT, this isn't going to guarantee you a job with the VA, but it'll teach you some of the skills to get a government job or to get a job in general. So they really help you with your resume writing. They go over your resume, your job.
I think it's excellent. It sounds like an excellent program, and you've lived it, so I'm glad to hear word of mouth.
Another good program they don't tell you about either is, especially for veterans who get like general under honorable discharges, where they don't have the full honorable discharge, so they don't get their Montgomery GI Bill or their 9/11. They qualify for vocational rehab. I've met so many veterans that were able to reinvent themselves with their general under honorable discharge, and they were able to go up to, they don't tell you this either, but you could go up to a master's degree if you set forth the right motivation, all that stuff.
That's how I got my MBA. Voc Rehab.
Voc Rehab, yeah.
Yes.
And you only have to be like, what percentage? It's like 20%, 30%?
I think it's like 10%. I think it's 10%.
Yeah, it's like
I think 10% you qualify for Voc Rehab. And a lot of veterans don't know about it. Again, why we're having this podcast, because I want this to be the voice of veterans here in South Florida. Because all these things I learned from, like I said, 94 to now, like through all this trail of blood, sweat, and tears. And I was a paratrooper, brother. I carried 100 pounds on my back. That's what Anglico does. We were a reconnaissance element. So I got all these injuries. Yeah, but I got all these injuries, and I don't know any of this. So I'm like, man. So that's why it's like, wow, what can we do so the next guy doesn't have to go through all this crap, and so that he knows about CWT and he knows about the HUD VASH.
HUD VASH, yeah.
And Voc Rehab.
Voc Rehab.
And especially like what you just mentioned, I didn't even know that. So if you have other than honorable, you still can. And let me tell you why I'm an advocate for that. Here's why. Because I know I'm not going to mention names, but I lost some good Anglico Marines for popping on cannabis, which is now illegal. So 20 years ago, they were all, and I remember everyone turning their back on this poor guy. He was a freaking stellar Marine, young guy. Young, I think he was a Lance Corporal, but he was one of those sharp Lance Corporals who was just on point. You call him up and he'll be on point. And he popped on it, and then all these Marines turned their back on him, wouldn't even talk to him, treating him like he was a pedophile or some crazy shit.
Yeah. All
he did was drink maybe a little too much, Someone was passing a J, and he popped and he smoked it. And now look, now it's legal. Like, really, was it really that bad? So that's why you got to look at it through a lens. What's legal and what's morally wrong or ethically wrong? And I think, as Marines, and they tell us, that's your brother, unless he does this one little mistake.
Yeah, exactly.
But if he had a DUI, that's forgivable. he was DUI means you didn't give a shit about your life, which doesn't belong to you because it belongs to the U.S. government if you're active duty, and you don't give a shit about the people you're trying to protect because you're getting drunk and driving on a vehicle and just being freaking reckless. I go, but that is forgivable. Lance Corporal smokes a J, he's getting the worst, and then they kick him out dishonorable, other than honorable. And now even afterwards, and then he's embarrassed to say that he served. You know how many guys I've heard, I was in the Marines. Well, and then I'm like, dude, I go, devil dog, don't ever. I get mad.
Yeah, man.
I get mad when I hear Marines. Now if he did some jacked up shit, I'll be like, hey, I won't judge you like bad. I'll be like, all right, well, it is what it is, but we're
fucking
here.
Shitbag.
But we're here, no, because we're here now. What are you now? Did you learn from that? That's how I judge you. I judge you by now, not by back then. Because we were kids. I could have done that. I never did, but I could have done that. I could have done some stupid, and I'm going to judge that poor kid. But so I think it's important that we have programs like that we're open to. That's why Veterinet's open to that. I had a couple of guys, I didn't call them out on it, but I had a couple of guys that were other than honorable. I wanted to hear their story. I'm like, and that was one of them. He popped on a drug. They say drug. I'm like, drug? That's a freaking plant. That's from the earth, like Chris Tucker in Friday. Like, that's from the earth. God made that for me. So that's that to make that a drug. That's like cocaine. That wasn't created in some kind of lab with a process. That was just. So yeah, I feel bad that they treated those Marines like trash. So yeah, you got to take it. You got to take it situation specific. Like. Judge it by situation.
Also, for some of those Marines, sailors, airmen, Space Forcemen,
What are they called? Space Forcemen? Is that what you said?
Coast Guardsmen.
What are they called? Space Forcemen? No, you just made that shit up.
I just made that shit up.
Spacers,
yeah. I love how the logo is the Star Trek.
Like the Star Trek, yeah. I wish they should just use the exact one.
There's discharge upgrades though. You are able to upgrade your discharge. There's the circuit discharge review board, and you could also, if you receive like an undesirable like a review on your discharge, you could also have it appealed.
Nice.
So they pull your military
Didn't know about
record.
that either.
Yeah,
Didn't know about that either.
Well, I know that in the
so you got to appeal it. You got to get an attorney, the whole nine. Okay.
I learned about this stuff from being in the CWT program because you're with all kinds of people who are going through different things in life. You might be in the CWT program with a Vietnam era veteran, I believe that all veterans are veterans regardless of combat. Personally, just from working at the VA and being with organizations like the American Legion, because what else are you going to call them? And some people, they didn't deploy, but the expectation level, the training level, the level of like exposure to stress is almost like that, and it's definitely not comparable to civilian training or training, say for people who work in jobs that are less evasive. You know what I'm talking about. But yeah, all those veterans are qualified for these programs. So I had met veterans who were like, "Oh, I'm Vietnam era." I was like, "What does that mean?" It means that I served during Vietnam, but I didn't go to Vietnam, so I can't call myself a Vietnam veteran, but I am qualified for certain things. So we have a lot of campaigns, and there's a lot of veterans who, trained a certain way and had to experience greater hardship because of kind of like a wartime vigilance, Cold War stuff. Imagine like the Cold War kind of ideology. So I respect those veterans too, definitely.
Well, I was Cold War veteran. I'm a Cold War veteran because I was 94 to 2000, pre 9/11 and post 9/11. I fought in 9/11, post 9/11 anti-terrorism, whatever, global war on terrorism. But I'm a Cold War veteran because we trained to fight the Russians. We had flashcards of BTRs. I didn't know that. A few years later, I'd be riding in BTRs with old Soviet guys, and I'd be giving orders because we had a Ukrainian general. And when did the USSR fall? Like 91.
Yeah.
So 10 years he became a general. It takes about 10 years. So I'm like, this motherfucker was a lieutenant in the Soviet military, and now he's telling us what to do because he's the highest commanding officer in this AO. Fuck that guy. You know, but that's crazy, man. Yeah. Yep. So you got a lot of a good gouge just being around these guys in these meetings with the CWT.
For sure. And then
but that's critical because a lot of us are in isolation when we get out. So in a way, it's good when you put them all together in a room. And that's why I say, because a lot of relationships happen organically. You just got to get veterans in the same room. That's why I like the idea of the Warfighter Sanctuary too, because it's like, remember I was talking about later, like you might have guys there playing Xbox. They don't go there with the idea that they want to start a business or anything, but then they get motivated by seeing veterans that are starting businesses and that are gathering together, doing a podcast, doing other stuff like that.
Yeah, that's how things happen.
Organically,
yes.
Not forced, not like, hey, this is the Veteran Crisis Center. Like, oh, shoot, dude, people will avoid that like the plague. But if it's like, hey, this is the Warfighter Sanctuary, we're a little bit of everything. We got a cyclist club, we got a chess club, we got Dungeons and Dragons club, we got Call of Duty, we got jiu-jitsu, we got weightlifting, we got CrossFit. We have a little bit of everything. Think of an MWR/business center, you know, when you think of the Warfighter Sanctuary. And that's how relationships really blossom when they're organic, when we're just sitting and then it just happens, you know, not forced. Like, okay, you guys are going to buddy up and then start a business. Like, oh God, no, please, not with that guy.
Yeah.
Because we don't. That's the other thing. Like we just sometimes don't connect. There's veterans I like, but I wouldn't want to work with that guy. I just don't want to work with that guy. But exactly. I like him. I just don't want to work with him. Because of his personality. He's too moto, or he's not moto enough. He's not at my exact moto level.
Yeah, and sometimes it's good to just get away from veterans. You know, what I really like about the cycling community is the shared hardships we have. You know, we're going to do 100 miles or we're going to do 30 miles. Mm-hmm. And, you know, it could be really sucky, you know, because we're going through rugged terrain or the weather, you know.
I saw that Everglades ride, and there was alligators. You were riding your bike right past some alligators.
Yeah, exactly. So
that's like pitfall or like an adventure.
Yeah, that's so it cool. Sucks for me, it sucks for them. So it's a shared hardship. So you could build strong bonds still outside of the service, and it doesn't necessarily have to be with military veterans either. Mm-hmm. So that's what I really dig about the cycling community. But I definitely, you know, reach out to veterans because that's my community. I know this community very well, and the suicide issue is a real thing to me. You know, when I first started hearing those statistics, 22 a day, you know, I was like, where do they get that from? That's like, sounds really extreme, like 22.
It's way more than that. It's double. It's 40.
That's unbelievable.
They've done more studies. It's closer to 40. They're not counting the suicides of veterans that get drunk because they're having anxiety, depression, whatever, and they're living on the edge. So they get wasted or drunk or drugs or whatever. Get
suicide
on the road. Suicide by cop, suicide by car,
know somebody like that.
Suicide by overdose.
I knew somebody like that.
Suicide by overdose, suicide. All those are that veteran is going through some trash, and the right resources are not available to him. And what are the best resources? I think other veterans are the best resources. That's why I like the idea of tribe. That's why if you walk away with anything from the podcast and what we're with the 501c3 is tribe and purpose. If you got veterans that have a tribe and a purpose, it's less likely, let's say exponentially less likely that they're going to commit suicide. Because if I'm in a group of guys and I'm like, hey, Tuesday we're going to do this, I'm not going to be like, well, I'm going to let Joe down because I'm going to blow my head away, or I'm going to jump off a bridge, I'm like, nah, bro, I can't, because we're doing these good things.
And a little accountability.
And especially if we're working on a nonprofit that's helping other brothers, like, how am I going to kill myself when I'm supposed to be the example for other veterans, which, you know, a lot of us might be going through sometimes. So that's also the other side of it. And again, that is happening organically. It's not like, all right, we're going to meet at this meeting, we're going to have a suicide meeting. I mean, like, no, I think there's a place for that. Like, we could have our sanctuary and be like, hey, on Thursday, we have a group. You can have that, but it's not in your face every single day. Because I don't want that vibe.
Intense.
Yeah, but let's say we go, hey, Sundays at like some time where no one else would want to, you know, we're from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. on a Sunday or something or whatever, you know, we have for those that want to talk about this, you know, in this room over here, you know, in the business room. And we schedule stuff like that, you know?
Yeah, where it's like no kind of pressure either, you know, like some of these, you know, veteran places, you know, they're all about, you know, participation and, oh, Joe, you know, you haven't been coming to the meetings lately, huh?
I hate that.
Yeah, this guy, I think, you know, Al over here, he's a fly-by-night, you know, he talks all this and then, you know, he doesn't show up for a few, you know, and it just, it's got to be organic, you know, and sometimes.
It's got to be organic.
You know,
and we all have
can't go to these meetings.
Well, let's talk about that. You want to switch over now, start talking about the American Legion? Because I'm before we start, I'm a a huge advocate of American Legion and any organization
Yes.
that supports veterans, and especially in DC, they are our advocates out there. And without them,
100%.
with the VFW, with VFW American Legion, we would
And the
not have
DAV.
rights. And the DAV, one of the reasons why we have benefits in the first place, as far as VA benefits, we wouldn't even have that if it's for them, if
That's
it wasn't
right.
for them. So let's start with that.
Montgomery GI Bill.
And so with that said, I want them to exist forever. However, the VFW physical locations that are for us is not tailored to the modern warfighter. It's not for us. It's for folks. It's like almost its requirements are more catered to the guy that's retired, that doesn't have a business, doesn't have a family, doesn't work. Okay, and not the guy that wants to stay physically fit, and not the guy that doesn't drink. It's for like the unemployed or retired dude that likes to drink and wants to feel like he still has purpose by doing meetings for collecting money for Girl Scouts or collecting money, begging for money, begging, asking for donations.
Boys
To me,
Day.
it's the same thing. Like, I don't want to do that. That's why, like I said, with Warfighter Sanctuary, with veterans, I'm like, we will do no community service. That I assure you, unless it's our community. There's other organizations for them. If I'm going to take your time from you have a wife, you have children, not you literally, but figuratively,
Yeah.
or veteran. You have a wife, you have children, you work all week. If you're going to give away some of your time, let's give it to something that is conducive to what you're doing. But at the same time, you can hang out with other veterans while you're doing that. But it makes sense. Like, it's going to help your business. We're going to have a meeting this week on the best ways to blow up on social media. Or we're going to have a meeting today on how to hold a podcast. Now, you can have a podcast for whatever industry. Like, you should have your own Bike for Vets podcast at least once a month, where you talk about your adventures and interview the other folks that are civilians, military, whatever. Like, you should have that, So like, let's say we're going to have a workshop on that. That's useful. Like, but at the same time, you get to hang out with veterans, and then you get to network. Oh, you have this business? Well, I have this business. Let's exchange cards. Maybe we can do something offline. That's how to me, that I see that, I go, man, that's how you save veteran lives. Not, the other stuff are Band-Aids. All the other cool things are Band-Aids. Even even the jiu-jitsu, even the other stuff, but finding purpose with life again after the military, I think, is so critical for us.
Yeah, I agree with you on a place that's more like fitness focused. I think that
That's
would be
so
great,
important for us.
because one of the things that we get stripped of in civilian world is the MWR, and the MWR is so clutch. MWR stands for Military Wellness and Recreation.
Morale, wellness, and recreation.
Okay.
Morale, wellness, and recreation.
Okay, morale, wellness, and recreation. Yeah, and that's one of the best benefits
Yes.
that we have while we're active duty.
Absolutely, especially downrange.
Yeah.
Like downrange, that's where we decompressed. Like, we didn't have a R&R. Like in Vietnam, they had R&R. They would take you out somewhere and you'd be chilling. But all we had was MWR.
So it's a gym. It's
a
like
gym.
an office space.
No alcohol, except when they have karaoke night.
Right.
Or when they have salsa night.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Why can't we do that? So I'm all for alcohol in a controlled environment with limitations, where we're not getting into brawls and getting all crazy. You know what I mean? Because you're going to have those guys. You're going to have those guys that just got off of active duty, those young kids, and they're going to be like, oh, alcohol, woo. And it's good, so we don't want that. But we want like a karaoke night and a salsa night and MWR. You know exactly what I'm talking about.
Or dispensary.
Well, I don't know about that, but I want it to be holistic. I want like coffee, espresso, and protein shakes, like some easy stuff that we could have. You know what I mean? And maybe a food truck outside, so that we can have, that's a way to monetize it for us to pay our electric bill.
Yeah. I say, be a member of all of them, the American Legion.
Yes, absolutely. And I am. I'm a life member. I'm a VFW life member.
DAV, and
I'm not a member of the DAV because I just not. Because then you got all these different things, but
I'm paid for life on that DAV. I had a generous member, Mr. Joe Pig. Thank you very much. Donate that to me, and
Nice.
that's awesome. So I really support all the organizations.
Yeah, me too. 100%. 100%.
Yeah.
I just think I don't want to take away what they have by changing it. They don't want to listen anyway. So I think we need our own. That's why I'm like, hey, we got to do our own. And I don't want.
We are a little different.
We're very different. We're very different. And here's why too.
I know, but they don't like to hear that.
But we're extremely different. Here's why. But it's not their fault. It was a different era. Back then, alcohol was a good thing, and being they called it being shell shocked. They didn't have a word for post trauma, from post trauma. they just call it shell shock, and then people would just drink, and they're like, oh, that helps and soothes it. Now we have science that tells us, no, that's bad. Alcohol is actually the worst thing you could do if you have post-trauma. You know, it just brings you right back to where you were at, and it brings you to dark places. Yeah, you're happy for about an hour.
You're living a life of
You're happy for an hour,
hangover.
and then 10 hours, you're depressed for 10 hours. And you do that long enough, and you're going to, blow your brains out. And that's not a good thing. So why are we promoting that? You know, so that's why I don't.
Yeah, that was me before I got into cycling. Like, I was there. I went to the emergency department.
Most war fighters
with,
that return
alcohol poisoning, and I knew I needed to change something.
Yeah.
You know, and I had bought a fixed gear bicycle off of a friend, and I got to learn how to ride the bike, and that's when I started, doing these kind of like long distance fixed gear rides, and I did up to 100 miles, and eventually I got a road bike and started like socializing with the road cyclist and got into that, and I'm into fixed gears mostly now, and Seagull Speed gravel stuff, and it's been tremendous in my overall health and well-being. I remember being like 38 years old, and I was being offered blood pressure medicine, statins, but my blood pressure is like that of a fucking teenager because I'm always like riding my bike and I'm happy, releasing a lot of happy endorphins. I always tell people, the best medicine is right in between your legs, this bicycle right here.
Yeah.
Yeehaw. And man, and
but it's true.
Diet, goals, having goals like racing. Like, I don't race bike because I want to fucking kick people's ass and fucking send it. I mean, that's a little bit, but really what I do it for is a goal set. Like, if I have an event to train for, it creates like an accountability, and it just creates a pattern of like habit where it's like, okay, no guys, sorry, I can't go drinking with the boys tonight. Hey, I gotta wake up early. I got a group of people I got to meet at 5:30, and then pedals up at 6. Like, that's what it is. And it just maintains accountability. It maintains a discipline and fitness. At the end of the day, the fitness is a product of all the time and money that you put in. Your cardiac health. People say, "Oh man, that bicycle, how much does it cost?" Oh, this and that. At the end of the day, I'm spending money on my heart.
Exactly.
Because that's what I'm investing in is my cardiac function, my blood pressure, metabolism, burning fat, maintaining a healthy weight, releasing happy endorphins. So that's my investment. It's preventive because I don't want to take no medicine.
You're PMing yourself, preventative maintenance, like a Humvee.
Exactly.
And that's what I'm doing. I mean, I agree with you 100%. That's why I got my bike. I thought my bike was expensive because I was new to the cycling community. So I got mine. Mine was like $1,200. And I thought it was, I love that bike. I freaking adore that bike. That bike, I think I read the story of how they started creating those giant BMX bikes because we were kids. I wanted a mongoose. I never got it. I grew up with a single mom. We were tight. But then I grew up. They made big bikes, BMX bikes for grown-ups with big ass tires.
Yeah, there's a whole crew of those guys.
Yes, I'm in the crew. I'm in the crew. The Magic City Cruisers.
Hey, you're in the crew too.
Yes, of course, brother. Yes, of course.
Cruises for life.
14th. You're gonna be there April 14th. I'll see you there.
April 14th. I'll see you there.
Yeah. So Rennie's running that, man. I can't wait. So Magic City Cruisers. Hell yeah, we got some veterans. You got a corpsman, you got a warfighter corpsman, and
a bunch of veterans, and a bunch of professionals too. What I like about that is like cool. Like there's different niches within the bike community, and that's what I love about.
And they're cool people, man. It's like it reminds me like I'm almost like a jiu-jitsu community where everybody's like really chill. They're not jerks. Like they invite you. They're not like hey like ridiculous. It's just like really laid back. And then like I remember the first time I went, the first stop. We made a line to get beer, and it was like, the first two guys already bought beer for everybody. And I was like, well, I can't have more beer. 2 is enough. We got to ride another 10 miles. But the next stop I got, it was just like a good community, man. And we had some pizza. Some of us got to go get pizza, and it's like that every time, man. And then I start feeling, I feel like I'm a kid again. We're just going on this little adventure. But
I heard there's a bunch of other Marines in it too.
Yeah, and we don't got to wait. We can come home whenever we want. We don't got to go home for before dinner. I feel like I'm a little kid. Such a great community. And we go from the government center. Yeah, we go from the government center. One of my favorite rides in Miami, government center to South Beach, and then back. And we did that a lot during COVID. And then the other one was what is it? What's the Black Point? down in.
Oh yeah, Black Point. That's a nice ride.
That's a nice ride, man, and a good community, good group of folks, man. And it's like the older dudes, the OGs, and it's like their kids, but their kids are 20 because we're all old.
With sick bikes, though, all the bikes that you wish you had when you were a kid, or the bike that got stolen, the one that got away. You know, I had I had a bike that I got for Christmas one year. It was a GT Vertigo, and some son of a bitch fucking stole that shit from the bike locker over there in high school. Man. But it's a good community. Yeah, brother. So cool, brother. So cool. I love it. I'm all for it. I ride my bike. I try to ride my bike. I was riding my bike every day. Now I ride it about 3 times a week, and I'll do 10 to 15 miles, and I'll go to along the beach. You know, I'm here on US 1. I'm on Federal Highway, so I'm like literally minutes from I can walk to the beach. But I take my bike there. I'm there in 3 minutes, and then I just go along the shore. And dude, that is so therapeutic. Oh, yeah. And I get mad at myself for not doing it enough. What a luxury.
When I'm having, I know, because it's not like Miami getting to the beach is a mission. You got to find parking, this and that. There's
forget about it.
You know, but here it's like, if I feel like going to the beach, I go to the beach. And it's so therapeutic. It's so healing for me, especially if I'm having a long week. And I get mad at myself that I don't do it enough. So then I always go, sometimes I force myself. And it only takes, Joe, it takes me like 60 seconds of riding going, why did I debate going out on the bike? It
happens to me every fucking time. You know?
I go, if you just get, it's like going to the gym. It's like, if you just get it and get on it and just start, you're going to, before I'm listening to my 80s alternative, you know, I got my little speakers. So I put my speakers, I'm not obnoxious. I don't put it so loud that everybody's got to hear me coming down the block. It's for me, but I enjoy it. And I don't want headphones because I want to be aware of everything going on.
Yeah.
So I don't put headphones, but I'll put my music, and also it helps people know that I'm riding. Because sometimes, you know, I know that the bikes are for streets, not sidewalks, but sometimes because people do not respect you on bikes sometimes, and we have bike lanes. We have bike lanes where it shows you the picture of the bike.
Of cyclists that got hit here like a few months back.
All the time. And,
and it was like a little old lady on her phone.
Here's the deal with that, because we get all these people from the Northeast that come down here during the snowbirds, right? And the younger snowbirds and all of them, they don't realize that this is a biking community.
They fucking drive like assholes.
They drive like assholes. And I've had people like, hey, you're in the bike. There's like, they'll like in Delray, they make 2 lanes. One's a bike lane, one isn't. So if you're in a car, all you got to do is this. This is all the effort you got to do, bro. Go like this and switch lane. And the bike, instead I'll hear people honk on me. I'll hear people will be nasty and cut me off real nasty, like if I was being a jerk. I'm like, I'm not being, and I had to yell at some guys the other day. They were in a convertible, and they didn't think I was going to catch up to them. And I caught up to them on my bike. And I was like, hey, what's up, bro? What's going on? You know, I'm not going to start a fight. I'm like, hey, well, what's up? Like that. But I'm like, hey, what were you saying? Oh, no, their whole story changed. Because now they thought I was a kid. Then they see me as a dude. I'm like, yo, what's up, man? What's going on? What were you saying to me? Oh, no, I was rooting for you because you looked like you were struggling. I'm like, nah, I know they were talking trash. Like, hey, get out of the way. I'm like, this is a bike lane. Just go like this, bro. It takes this much effort for you. For me, I'm going up this freaking bridge uphill. Just have the common courtesy to just do that. Just be a little bit. And you got to cut me off nasty, bro. I didn't do that to you.
Yeah, and you're only inconveniencing people like what? Like 1 minute, 2 minutes?
1 minute, 2 minutes. And we're at the beach. If we're at the beach, and you're upset that the lights are not going fast enough, like you should know that you're at the beach. People are walking. This is where we chill. If you're in a hurry, go to 95. Go outward. But I'm sick of these people that are driving through the touristy areas where it's supposed to be. Like when I go to Delray and I'm driving my car, I never get mad. I know it's supposed to be slow. There's cars that are going slow to look. I don't go honk honk. I'm like, this is the strip. If you're on the strip, no, people are like rushing, cutting you off on your bike. I get so mad.
That's not cool.
I got my here it's not so bad. It's only bad. Delray is not bad, and Boynton is not bad. It's only bad during the freaking New Jersey folks, Connecticut folks come down here and try to New York my South Florida. And I yell at them, and I'm originally from New York. I'm like, hey, get out of here! What are you doing over here? Don't New York my South Florida. You know?
So is that where you're from originally? You're from New York?
Jamaica, Queens, and Brooklyn, Sunset, Brooklyn. Where else? Queensbridge, the projects. So let's talk a little bit about your service, man. Let's talk about your service. So you went in. When did you enlist? What made you choose the Navy, and what made you choose corpsman, and how old were you? And give us your background on the military.
All right, so my background in the military started when I was a little kid playing with G.I. Joes and playing with my guns. I had like Rambo guns. You know, the movie Rambo had just come out, and they had these like action packages where he had like assault rifle,
Yeah, yeah,
pistol. So it had always been there. I had uncles who were like in the Korean War. My grandfather was a career Navy man who was a career veteran.
So your uncle was in the Korean War.
Yeah,
Okay. As a Navy or a Marine or.
No, well, I had a bunch of uncles that were in the Korean War. I had two that were in the Air Force, and then I had one who was a fucking badass. He was in the Army. He was, what does it call it? Tropic Lightning. It's the one with the fucking leaf and the fucking thunderbolt. Anyways, he fucking killed a fuckload of communists out there, like, out in Korea. And then when he got back, they asked him what he wanted to do. And he's from the Florida Keys. He says, I want to be a hard hat diver. So he became a hard hat deep sea diver, and he would recover bodies from World War II, sunken ships. You know, like that's a fucking hard job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. That's movie worthy right there.
Yeah, this man lived a life of adventure. I remember when I was a little kid, you know, like I was like playing with G.I. Joes and stuff like that, and I would ask him about the Army and Special Forces and stuff like that.
And he talked to you about it.
Yeah, you know what he said? He was like, you know what? He was like, you got to join the Foreign Legion. Join the Foreign Legion. That's a good outfit.
Really?
Yeah.
That's horrible advice.
If you want to start training for that,
advice.
If you want to start training for that, you got to get a backpack and
they
fill it
treat
up
you like
full
crap.
of rocks.
I already looked into it, and I've talked to people. If you're American, they treat you like trash. It's French, bro. It's not good. They don't like us. You don't want to do that. You want to do that as last resort if your life sucks. So I disagree with your uncle, who's a badass in that respect.
Well, there's a
I think
Navy
what
SEAL
you
out
did.
there
I think
also a Legionnaire.
I think what you did was the better track. Becoming a corpsman. That's a badass job. Devil Doc.
Yeah, Devil Doc. So as a little kid, I always wanted to be a Marine, you know. But my sweet dad, you know, he was a Navy corpsman, and he didn't want me to get into no kind of troubles, you know what I mean? Like he didn't want his boy in harm's way. So he's like, you know, son, you know, you could still serve with the Marines. You could be a corpsman, you know, and you get the best of both worlds. You could be on a ship, you know, you could be in a hospital, a clinic. You got all the nurses, and then, you know, if you want to be in the submarine force, you could do that. You could be a SEAL, you know.
Wait, get back to the nurses. What was the implication there?
Woo! Good times. That was when I was no. My first duty station was a shore duty.
This is 2024. This ain't 1990s.
Navy Hospital,
Be
Bethesda.
Careful.
And part of my platform of duty was the USNS Comfort, Navy hospital ship, which has a trauma center that's modeled after Ryder Trauma Center here in Jackson Hospital in Miami. So that's like a really cool, fun fact, but it's also called.
But wait, you're jumping ahead. Talk about your first. You jumped right ahead. What happened right after you enlisted, and where'd you go?
All right, so you know, one of the big reasons why I joined the military was my family. You know, and joined the Navy was because my dad. You know,
he was
my grandfather. Yeah, I would have been the third one, so I was like, I don't want to fuck it up. You know, that's good. You know, like the three sailors. You know, like that Jimmy Buffett song, son of a sailor.
So Joe, you were telling us about your transition from the military, from the Navy into the civilian sector, all the different programs that are out there that helped you, and which I'm so glad to hear about, because now that's going to help. If those veterans that are out there that are transitioning to the civilian sector, if they see this podcast, they'll learn about CWT, learn about HUD VASH, learn about Voc Rehab, learn about Bike for Vets, learn about all these programs.
Especially Bikes for Vets.
Especially Bikes for Vets. Learn about all these programs that are out there, how they can get a bike. But and we talked about, you know, how you worked for the VA and the bad gouge you got. But then you got some good gouge, and that helped you get into the medical field. So now let's talk about what you actually did in the military. So and with that said, I'll just be frank, because we're being authentic in this show. Is you know, I think in the next episode I'm going to start with the military service and then do it differently. I think because and the reason being is because there's some amazing stories, and I think that would captivate our audience first if I talk about, like, you know, like, 'cause I think it's pretty cool that you became a corpsman and your first place to go was recon. You know, and I want to talk about that because, like, wow, as a young kid, how old were you? 18?
No, I wasn't 18 when I got to 1st Recon Battalion. So I had just turned 21 years old.
Okay, still, you're a baby.
Yeah, 21 years old.
But that you were what, an E1, E2? You were what were you?
No, I was actually an E4.
Oh, you were E4 when we went to.
Yeah, I was a third class petty officer.
Gotcha.
I got third class.
So what year did you enlist?
When I was in field med, I enlisted in 2005.
2005. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I went to field med in 2003.
Okay.
Prior to that, I was at Navy Hospital with the ship.
Okay.
USNS Comfort.
Stationed where?
I was stationed at Navy Hospital, Bethesda, Maryland.
Okay.
They call it Walter Reed Hospital now.
Gotcha.
But back in those days, it was called NMMC, National Naval Medical Center.
Man, it's crazy how they change everything. Because now they changed
Yeah.
Fort Bragg, they changed Benning, and like, man, that's what I grew up to. 94.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And there's some history to that hospital too. If like you're into like conspiracy stuff.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So it used to be called Naval Hospital Bethesda in Maryland, and there's a tower, and it was said that Admiral Byrd he committed suicide, but they said that could be foul play. But he was a part of a expedition program. It was called Operation High Jump, and it was to look for activity, wormholes, and and German activities post-war. In the Arctic.
Whoa.
Yeah.
You know, I'm interested in that Arctic because I'm always hearing about this Arctic world. I'm like, I'm one of those guys. I got to really see that to really believe that trash.
I mean,
and now they have CGI now, and so I don't. It's really hard to believe that stuff, but I'm starting to believe a little bit. Like there's something going on with all of that. Yeah. You know. So tell us about this.
Know.
So this was in Walter Reed. You said.
Yeah. No. It's Walter Reed Hospital now. But back in the days, Walter Reed was actually in Georgia Ave.
But back to Admiral Byrd and the conspiracy. That's what I'm interested in.
Oh, yeah.
You were just talking
the
about
juicy
that.
stuff. Yeah, for sure.
What was that?
So it was said that he committed suicide off like the 10th floor or something. And
really fishy.
Really fishy.
Yeah.
And he knew something, and he was, speaking out about some things and
wormholes. And that's what you said that had
Foo Fighters, like alien activities that they went down to the Arctic. And that there was alien ships, flying saucers, and they had to turn back the expeditionary force. Look it up.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Interesting, man. I want to check that out.
For sure. So that was my shore duty station. So now, Medina's up for orders. It's what's it going to be?
Yeah.
So I go to the detailer in the Navy. We call it a detailer, and they get you their jobs. So. At that time, I understood what it was, 1st Marine Division, 2nd Marine Division, 1st FSSG, 2nd, air wing, something operational. There were some ships and stuff like that. But I think that every single corpsman, every single, real corpsman has a desire to serve. Alongside
in a tough environment,
alongside the Marines, in the Fleet Marine Force.
That's good. That's a shared camaraderie because Marines that are grunts, like I have the utmost respect. I'm not an 03, I'm an 08, 61, but I'm in a reconnaissance element. We're special operations capable, so we're pretty cool. But I still have so much respect for those guys because they're the ones kicking in the doors. Like even when we went on missions, it would be like I felt safe. Because it was always the grunts that cleared everything. We went in afterwards. I didn't kick doors. I ain't gonna sit here and tell you I kicked doors. We just went in after them. After that, everything was done. People were roped up, hog-tied. We were just asking them questions. By then I'm like the grunts did everything. I wasn't scared. I wasn't really scared. On the way there I was scared. Once the grunts did everything, I'm like, oh, we're golden, dude. All we gotta go is roll in there and work with intel and do our thing. Yeah.
So I graduated at Field Medical School is basically a school that consists of a cadre of Marine instructors. It's like the equivalent of like School of Infantry, but baby School of Infantry, I would say. It's just really fast and basic. Corpsmen were very
weapon
adaptive.
Systems? Do you go through weapon systems?
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Nice.
We go through...
I didn't know that.
Oh,
I had no clue.
Oh, are you kidding me? We're assigned a weapon, it's not to leave our possession. We learn everything about weapons.
No, I know you were assigned a weapon, but I didn't know if you went through all the different weapon systems.
We went through like the basic weapon systems.
Yeah, like M240s or I'm sorry, 249s, 240, yeah, or 240s.
We didn't during my time. We didn't get to fire that stuff. And I'll tell you what was unique about my time.
Yeah.
We were the only 5-week course since Vietnam. So when I got to Field Med, it was like 2003, and
that's the name of it. It's called Field Med.
Well, that's what they called it. I think they call it.
They got to give it a cooler name.
Training battalion.
They got to call it a cooler name so you know what it is.
Field Medical Service.
It should be called Combat Field. They should put a combat in there.
Yeah.
Because if you're using weapon systems like that, because you tell me Field Med, I'm like, oh, whatever. That sounds like some.
Yeah, we train in patrolling.
Class.
We train in patrolling.
Yeah, dude, that's a high speed class, especially for I never expect that. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. We have like a Marine cadre. We have our Navy cadre that teaches us like the tactical medical side of the house.
Yeah.
We learn mount. Military operations and urban terrain, how to triage and mount situations. So we go to that mount town, where it's just dope. Like a simulation of a town.
Yeah.
And then we have like people.
Oh man, I wish we had a corpsman like that. See, in my team, I chose a guy that was he was an EMT in real life. So he was our doc.
Oh, so he was a professional, like, real life experience.
Yeah, so he was awesome. In that capacity, he was fantastic.
Yeah.
In other capacities, I don't know. But we had our real corpsman was. I don't care. It's 20 years. He was absolute trash, bro. He was more interested in trying to hook up with nurses and bullshit and get drunk and never interested in going on operations with us and always a deficit. I mean, I remember because we had 2 gun trucks. We call them gun trucks, but they were just soft Humvees with no doors. I actually have a little model here, and I remember having an argument. I'm like, hey man, we want to have a 240 in the front because we had an M240.
Yeah.
I want the M240 in the front and I want a Mark 19 in the back.
Fuck yeah.
That's how we're rolling. Because all we were 2 Humvees rolling through the Sunni Triangle alone. Yeah. No
you gotta
armor.
Be like fucking Mad Max rolling up into that motherfucker. Like,
I'm having a meeting with my Marines, and this motherfucker jumps in going, you don't know what you're talking about. He goes, you just need 2 machine guns. Anyway, long story short, I yell at him, get the fuck out of here. Who the fuck are you? And why are you interrupting my meeting, my briefing? You're not even in this team. Because he was just like fucking support. He was in a support platoon. I'm like, you're not even in my team. Get the fuck out of here. Like, I was going to go to blows, but at the same time, I was afraid because I didn't want to lose my command. Because I already yelled at a couple of people above my rank. I to this day, I think I was correct, but I called some people out. People didn't like that. They didn't like I had people that didn't like me, so I was like on thin ice. So like, all right, I'm not going to push this because I wanted to smack them in the face. But at the end, we start working with Green Berets. What are Green Berets doing? They got their machine gun in the front and their Mark 19 in the back, just like exactly like I was saying. And these guys were salty motherfuckers. These were Green Berets, ODA. I'm like from 5th Group, and I'm like, dude, see? But at least my team saw that, and they're like, hey, our staff sergeant's on point. He knows what the fuck he's talking about.
Oh yeah.
Also, I remember like taking a knee. I'm sorry, man. I feel like I'm kind of hijacking this, but it just bringing back memories. It's bringing back memories. Like I got mad because
I like it because now I'm channeling my memories.
Bring them. Yeah. Please bring them because hopefully the channel's yours. So yeah, in that case, this story needs to be told because I remember when we were training.
Because we were in country at the same time.
Yeah, exactly. And I get out and I'm like, hey, when we stop, we have a short halt and a long halt. And I go and I want us all taking a knee. I was a firearms instructor. I was a PMI. And I'm like, I want us all taking a knee, and for 2 reasons. Because when you take a knee, you're a smaller target, number 1. And when you take a knee, you have a more stable shooting platform versus standing, which is you're probably effective up to 50 meters on a quick draw. 50 to 100 meters on standing, you're accurate. If something pops off, yes or no, maybe. So I want more stability, and I know because I'm an instructor. I want you smaller target, short, and I want you within hands reach of the vehicle because we may have to leave. However, if there's RPG threat, then long haul, and then we spread. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Our spacing, but we're always taking a knee. So I would do this. I was the only motherfuckers doing this. Everybody else wasn't. The Army wasn't doing none of this. So then, of course, my guys are like, I didn't care. I'm like, look, I don't give a fuck. As a team, I go, I'm not here for you to like me. You know what I mean? Like, I don't care what you guys think. If this is stupid or it's too much work, but this is how we do it. But they never questioned me, at least to my face, although my nickname was the Führer, but that's another story. But I was like, we're doing it this way. What was great was when we got there after the invasion. We weren't there for the initial invasion. When we got there, I was pissed because I thought the war was over. Well, the Marines left when we got there. They were cool though. They were giving us grenades. They were giving us everything for the 03 Marines. Yeah. We got there in 03, but we got there in the summer. So they're giving us all their shit out there because March was when the shit popped off. And they're giving us the grenades, like nothing. They're giving us boom boxes, Beastie Boys tapes, everything. So we're like, all the shit that they took through the war.
I know you're gonna need it.
They were awesome to us. Let me tell you something. And they didn't treat us like shit. We were reserve. They were awesome to us. Love those active duty dudes. But anyway, so they gave us all that shit. And then where was I going with this? Oh, so when they come back, so we were there for our deployment got extended. We were there for the long haul. They come back because the war wasn't, because they said mission complete and then it wasn't complete. So they brought the Marines back like 6 months later. So all these Marines come back. What the fuck is the first thing they do when we see them on convoy? And my team's rolling by. They go, hey, the Marines are back. Look, because the whole time we were there was just Army. The whole time, most of the time that I was there was Army and foreign forces. And then the Marines return. Marines stop, short halt. You see them doing exactly what I was telling my team to do. Which, like, I like that because, like, it built my credibility. Like, I'm telling you guys, man, this is what we got. Plus, getting aim points and reflex sights. It was all three. Not everybody had that. A lot of people were working with iron sights. I'm like, iron sights are great when you're snooping and pooping on foot. But when you're in a moving Humvee, how the fuck do you expect us to hit fucking anything? As a PMI, I'm telling you, you ain't gonna hit shit with a front sight post, trying to align the front sight post and the rear side aperture while you're moving in a Humvee, going 50 miles an hour while fucking IEDs are popping off. Really? You're gonna hit shit? You're not gonna hit shit, bro. You're just gonna be muzzle flashes. All you're gonna do is like, hey, hit me here, shoot me here, shoot me here. Oh, you don't see me? Look, this is where you shoot. That's all you're doing. No, you need an aim point or a freaking what is that? EOTech?
EOTech, yeah.
EOTech, and we were like, it was 03. So we had to buy our own shit. They weren't issuing that us.
Yeah, that's how it is. Or they give like a Trojacon to the
now later
marksman.
Yeah, the deployments that follow, like, because my boys, they bought their own upper receivers, lower receivers. They completely switched them out to like new rifles, man, to adapt to that, because we went with the A2s. Like, we were so unprepared for Iraq, man. It was
that was the invasion, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and you had the slings, the old school slings.
Yeah, we had the big. Well, not me.
Falls off.
No, not me. I had a high. Not me, dude. I'm a gear queer.
Yeah.
I'm what they call. I am what they call a gear queer. I bought my own pack, my own mop, because the mop gear. Remember that stupid mop gear, hip. The hip.
Oh yeah, where you
for your
what is
gas
it called? Mask.
Yeah, where you stored that shit was so not intuitive to carry. It was this little rope shit. It would entangle with everything. Yeah. So I had to buy my own badass. I think it was called High Speed Gear from out of Lejeune, and I got my little thing there just because it was so convenient to carry.
Yeah, that's clutch.
Because remember,
everything.
We're in 03, they used to have those freaking, hey, mop gear. Oh, shit, in the middle of everything.
Gas.
That's what it was. Gas. We got to go to mop level 1 or whatever. I can't even remember what it was, but I remember being there and being miserable. So I bought all my gear, man. I had my sling, I had my high-speed sling, I had all my shit. And then everybody started, that was funny because they all talk shit. And then 1 month in, they're like, oh shit. Because we're driving and I got my red dot and I played a little game that's probably not friendly, but I put that red dot on everybody, bro. Because I wanted to know that I could, and I could pop anyone at any time. I had to feel that. We were 7 guys in 2 Humvees rolling through freaking the danger zone, bro. Like the motherfuckers on both sides. Deep crowds.
I feel that. Remember
that shit? That was horrible. Like you're like, because that you could get killed, that you're the target, that have the disadvantage. Yeah, that from any corner, from any second floor, from anywhere that you're not ready, they prepared. And they could freaking, one RPG could just take you out. So you got to deal with that feeling, plus the feeling that you have to be ready to send it downrange too, into a potential crowd. And you got to just like phase yourself out and prepare yourself while it's happening. Like, all right, I feel like I might have to kill all these innocent people if I start getting shot from this direction. But at the same time, I don't want to prematurely press the trigger. But at the same time, I have a team that I love these boys, and I want to make sure that I don't compromise them because I'm trying to not compromise these people. Like, where is the priority? Well, while it's happening in real time. And I know you've been there. So let's talk about that. We're talking about.
Yeah, so
let's get into that part where
I've been there, and
hopefully I channeled enough now that you've heard my track.
You channeled some really good vibes. Okay, so one of my fond memories that I have of my time as being a Navy corpsman with the 1st Marine Division was our pre-deployment speech that was given by General Mattis, and he said to us, my fine young men, my young cocky, arrogant little bastards. It is you who's going to go to Iraq. It's you who's going to spread the word of the 1st Marine Division that there is no greater friend, no worse enemy. Respect them people. Respect their culture. They wave at you. Wave back. But if anyone crosses you, light them the fuck up. And then you hear the whole fucking hall like, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
So it's like when you have that kind of like approval, it feels good. I think that naturally we know what's right and what's wrong, and we're given that responsibility out in the field, and we have to make the best judgment call. And the most important thing is bringing Marines and sailors, servicemen home alive, and without doing damage to the civilians either. I think we did a really good job of that too.
Well, we did everything to mitigate collateral damage. That I could live with good,
Yeah.
I mean, but things still happen in war.
Yeah,
and those are
100%.
things that, like, what makes us different. We talked about that. We were having that conversation. I think this might be a good segue. Unless you want to talk more. No, I want to hear more of what happened over there before we get into that. What I wanted to say. So tell me more about, your deployment.
All right, so that pretty much goes into my deployment and what I was doing. I was a line company corpsman assigned to First LAR.
What year? What time frame? Months? Year? And what AO? What province? What city?
Okay, so I was in Iraq with First Line Armored Reconnaissance Battalion, Iraq. And we were there working under RCT 7, and mostly around Al-Anbar province. So we'd go all over the place, these small towns.
Any ones that people would recognize, because I was in that area too, because for what I did afterwards.
We were based out of Al-Qaim, but we'd always be hitting up Al-Assad. Then there was little towns called Akashat.
Okay.
We'd be outside of Fallujah. Be on route Tampa. We had all kinds of missions. We were tasked with route reconnaissance.
But we crossed all the same dirt, bro.
A lot
all
of
what years?
Border security.
What years?
Heavily monitoring the Syrian-Iraqi border, making sure that insurgents weren't coming in with bomb-making material, weapons, copious amounts of U.S. dollar, drugs, war-age fighting men. So I'd, be a part of the scout team,
How old were you at this time, and what year?
Oh, I was 21. I turned 22 when Fallujah
People
was
don't
popping
understand,
off.
the stuff that, I look at 21-year-olds now and wow,
Yeah, and I was in charge of the health and well-being of 40 Marines out in the field, and we're in the field a lot. Highly mobile unit. Yeah. We went everywhere. Blue Diamond.
Did you feel like an outsider? How do you feel as a corpsman?
Oh no!
How welcoming are the grunts to you?
I was a highly motivated.
In the beginning, corpsman. And was it were you treated like a boot, like a Marine boot? Were you
no,
treated a
not
little
at
differently?
all.
Okay.
I had a good reputation because I had just come from a recon battalion, so I had done a stint there. But it was time for 8404 corpsmen who were not SARC Special Operation Corpsmen, or ready to go down the pipeline to be utilized for the division for the war effort. So in 2003, I got chopped out to 1st LAR Battalion and did a lot of convoy stuff. So I know exactly what you're talking about, taking a knee, when we'd have to come to a halt, scouts out, we get out of the vehicle, we know who's going to be watching.
That's when we're so vulnerable. Back. I felt that I was like, man, it's bad.
100%.
There's going to be crowds.
Well, you get those Black Hawk Down vibes. Yeah, exactly.
That's the movie that resonates the most with me out of all movies, because I'm like, that's how it was.
That came out
that was so similar.
2 years before our war.
And I liked the movie before I went, but I was like, that captures the movie the most closest to how it was, man. You're so vulnerable. I hated that feeling. Man, they could fire an RPG at us at any moment, and we have the underhand. They have the upper hand, and they have high ground.
Yeah.
For my Star Wars fans, I'm gonna get Darth Vadered or Anakin.
But I'll tell you what, fear not. You know, U.S. Marines. Yeah. We had an experience where we were vulnerable. We were QRF. We had just come back from a 2-week field operation, and while we're out in the field, we get replenished. So we're out in the field extensive amount of time. We have recovery elements, and we were the QRF. We had just gotten back out from this 2-week patrol, doing border surveillance and doing hits on houses with special forces and stuff like that. Which
do you remember any of the units you worked with?
I just know that they were SF guys.
ODA guys, yeah.
Yeah, ODA guys for sure. Yeah.
Did you ever interact with them? What was your experience with the ODA?
For certain missions, they said, we're gonna be assigned a special forces guy. They're gonna be like our translator. We're just gonna clear a bunch of houses. Because we have like a suspect. In this particular mission, we're looking for a terrorist group. They're bomb makers. Armed to the teeth, ready to die for Allah. And the intel that we have, they're saying it's here, but it could be here. So we're just gonna fucking hit a bunch of places and do it real quick. So the local ODA would employ first LAR scout teams to do these, and then we go ahead and work with the HET team, the human exploitation team, to go ahead and interview those particular suspects in this case.
And what are you doing while this is happening? What are you doing? You're just like
No, dude. I'm out there.
I mean, like, do you follow the squad leader, or are you part of the squad?
I'm a part of the squad. So
you're doing Overwatch.
I'm doing Overwatch.
You're squirreling roads. You're doing everything.
Yeah, I'm also like interviewing anyone that comes our way. I speak basic Arabic.
Okay. Do you?
Yeah, I was able to pick it up really quick. Growing up speaking Spanish.
Yeah.
I was able to pick up on pronunciation and like memory association and. I think that's kind of like a skill coming from South Florida, communicating with Brazilians, and you got to communicate with Haitians.
Dude, that is outstanding, bro. God bless you, brother. You were one of us, man. You were one of us then. You weren't like, and that's why I wanted to talk about that.
Asset to my team.
Yeah, but that's why I wanted to talk about that. I wanted to point out. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I wanted to point that out because a lot of people go, are you the corpsman? So you're a medic that follows the leader of the squad, and like that's not how it is. No, you're part of the squad. You're doing Overwatch. But you're dual hatted. If someone goes down, you're the first. You got to do that too.
Yeah.
Are you carrying more gear than everybody else, or are they spread loading that shit?
I like to spread load it.
Yeah, it makes sense though.
Yeah, but I have to carry certain things that nobody does. But
did everybody have their medical shit? Did everybody have their own medical shit in the same exact spot?
Yeah, by that time they started issuing us the IFAC.
Okay.
But I still taught Marines how to make their own tourniquets with sticks and rags.
Okay.
Just the cravat. And then you tie like a windlass, like a stick or something like that, or if you have like some grenade pins.
What were the worst casualties you had to tend to, or help?
Worst casualties I've had to tend to was identifying like a dead body that wasn't a part of my operation. So that was
service member
that I knew.
Service member.
Yeah, I was.
And it was someone you knew.
Yeah, it was somebody from another company.
Oh man.
Yeah.
No, but I meant it's like a lot. Someone that was alive, that got shot, or like did you do a lot of those?
No. Thank God that
No, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
That's a good thing. Actually, they got medevaced or something, or what would happen?
Well, actually, the only to be honest with you, there was one occasion, one of our gunnery sergeants, legendary gunnery sergeant, Gunnery Sergeant Ackerman, and he hit an IED. We were on patrol, and I was covering for 2nd Platoon. One of their line company guys was sick, so they took him off the field, and I happened to have been...
what unit was this?
This is 1st LAR.
Okay.
And so I was covering his unit, and Gunny Ackerman's recovery vehicle detonated a double-stack IED.
Oh, man.
And he got a concussion. So I made the call to pull him off the field and have him like medevaced out, because it's a head trauma risk.
Yeah.
So I didn't want his brain to
swell, and then you die.
I knew he wanted to be there. He was pissed, because
that's all right.
Like
get over
he was just like, leave me, all I need is my Copenhagen, my coffee mug, and my pistol. And you know how it is to like disarm a Marine. It's like, you don't want to do that, but you have to because that's the protocol.
Yeah,
so
that was tough.
I feel bad making that decision because I know that. He's a great Marine in the tradition of Chesty Puller.
Yeah.
And he wanted to be out there with his boys and stuff.
But you don't want to lose him to something like that. You don't want to go out like Willie Lump.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like
fucking CT scanner.
I
don't want to live with that.
Take the precaution.
Like,
exactly. Absolutely.
Like, oh man, his brain bleeded out.
Because
and I was like, he could have toughed it out.
Yeah. No. Wow. That's crazy, man. And you're 21 doing all this.
Yeah, 21, turning 22.
Yeah.
And we hit an IED on one occasion, and the injuries from that, luckily were just like minor, lacerations from shrapnel. Somebody got perforated eardrums, and my ears were so fucking filled with fucking gunk. I remember the corpsman that was doing the exam on me, they didn't have a CT scan. We were like in a remote fucking outpost.
Yeah, we too. Us too.
Al-Qaim. So there was no like CT scan. There was no X-ray or nothing like that. Like you'd have to go to Al-Assad for some shit like that. They'd fucking have to helicopter your ass. So they just did like a basic like ENT exam, looked at my ears, nose, throat. And I remember the corpsman who actually I went to corps school with, and then he went out to the fleet, became like an independent duty corpsman who are kind of like, they're basically like PAs, physician's assistants or nurse practitioners. They do like what doctors do. And he's like looking at my ears. He was like, "You nasty little bitch." And I was like, "What is it, man? What is it?" He's like, "Your ears are fucking dirty. That's what saved your ass." And he put some mixture of hydrogen peroxide and saline in my ears, and it started fucking bubbling out, and this fucking huge like chunk.
But from it was from what, convoys?
Yeah. Oh yeah, because we were like in a vehicle all the time, so picking up fucking dust.
No doors. Same thing. We my machine gunner especially, Raul, poor guy, because later on they had the crow's nest.
Weapon. Always cleaning my fucking M16.
Always nonstop. And then the crow's nest later on came out, which was like a World War II freaking aircraft. What do you call those little gunners? Tail gunners.
Yeah.
From World War II in the bombers.
Like the Memphis Bells.
Yeah, like the Memphis Belle. And we didn't have none of that shit.
Flying
so
Fortress.
He's just like this, with his whole body out, just taking all that shit. I'm like, oh, well, why don't you just put a handkerchief? Yeah, he did. That didn't mean shit. They go through, those particles go through all that shit. So his whole nasal cavity got fucked up, filled with dirt. So his nasal cavity, it fucked him up. It's one of his disabilities. To this day, he gets all fucked up. And his ears, everything. Yeah. That sucks.
Yeah, we lost a lot of good Marines at that time, I remember.
You want to talk about it?
I'll just say we lost a lot of good Marines because we didn't have the armament that we needed. Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
The protection in the Humvees. I really felt bad for the Marines.
You guys didn't have armor either?
We had LAV armor, which was much better than what the guys of 3-7 had. What the grunts had.
Yeah.
And 3-7, they got lit up out there a lot of times. There would be constant attacks on the base. I remember we had a Delta company, and those guys saw a lot of mortar attacks a lot. I see mortar attacks, to the very last day.
Yeah.
Yeah. The very last day when you fucking turn in your weapon to the armory, you're gonna fucking fly back to the United States. Passing your weapon to the next Marine, and you're just waiting to fly to Kuwait, and then you're still getting armored, like not armored but mortared. It's like, fuck, I don't even have a fucking weapon on me.
I refuse to get on the AC-130 taking us out without my pistol. They're like, "Hey, Staff Sergeant, you can't have a pistol. You can't have a live weapon in the back." And I sat there, and it became an issue. My officer's like, I'm like, "Sir?"
It was the Air Force, right?
Yeah. I'm like, "Sir?" No, but they were cool. No, they got it. Those guys were good. Those guys were cool. Because they would say this, like, "Oh, hey, Staff Sergeant, how about this? I'm going to hold your magazine. You're going to have the weapon. If something pops off, we'll give you the magazine." I was like, you know what? That was a good compromise. I mean, tactically, no, but it made me feel a little better. At least I had my weapon. Maybe it was like my Linus blanket. But I did not want to give up my weapon, getting vulnerable with my team until we were out of that country. And that's like the worst thing. And I was the team chief, and they're like, "Yeah, you got to turn in all your weapons." And I go, "What do you, man? I got to risk my lives."
The chief with the weapon,
I go, for 8 months, their lives were in my hands. I want their lives to still be in my hands until we're out safe, So yeah, so the Air Force guys were cool. I'm not going to talk trash about them. They were cool. They let me hold my weapon at least, my M9.
Nice. The only thing I didn't like is that they confiscated my burner. I had this cool mountaineering stove. It was like really high speed. Like one of the things that I learned from one of the recon Marines that I served with, Dave Doherty from 1st Recon Battalion, was like, "Dude, bring like a cool mountaineering stove, because that way you can boil your own tea and make some coffee, and it's gonna get cold out there, and that'll just be nice. You can have some green tea or something, heat up some ramen noodles, and not have to just like the MRE stuff." And I'll tell you what,
that changes your whole life, bro. It's like prison. It's like being in prison. Like you can make the little
check out this prison hack. So we would do like a lot of roadside security stuff. And sometimes we'd like stop farmers because a lot of Alumbar province, the Tigris Euphrates River is agricultural. So, you know, they'd give us some produce, you know, so I get some onions and fucking chop up some onions with my K-bar knife and mix it up with my fucking chili mac and cook it up, you know.
Man, those are the best days though, right?
Yeah.
It's amazing how that could be like the most miserable. Oh, it's terrible. Like, no, it was pretty cool, man. It was fun. I remember like mine is like we'd be on ambush with the with our thermal sights. Thermal sights are cool. You could see bats flying, you know, like Predator. And we're sitting there protecting, I think, an ASP or something, but we're sitting there freezing our ass off. People don't realize Iraq was fucking cold as fuck, man. Like, you know, in the winter.
Yeah, when I was there, and especially being in a fucking vehicle too, like LAV, because it's all fucking metal.
Well, we didn't even have doors, but we're sitting there overnight, you know, on ambush, and we're freezing. But then we leave the ambush, you know, take turns, we get out, and then we'd smoke cigarettes. We call it false sense of warmth.
Why would you smoke cigarettes out there? Is that like a target indicator?
No, I'm saying we'd go off, you know.
I heard the guys in the would smoke it into like a can.
Yeah, we had our ways, but we walked away from where the spot was, and we go in the back and then start smoking. We're in a we have a perimeter, and we go in the back and we're taking a break, smoking cigarettes, and that was like our best time. We're freezing, and we're like, this is called false sense of warmth because we're psychologically we're warm because there's fire, so it must be warm.
Yeah.
But we're freezing our asses off, and we're like, all right, man, you ready? Like who's next? But we all wanted to be on. Oh, we'd play a game, 80s movies trivia.
Us too.
We do 80s movies, and this is how it was.
The name game.
Whoever I'd be on the gun. I mean, not the gun, the sight, the thermal sight. And if you know, we all want to fight for that spot because you're the guy that gets to call in the airstrike or whatever. You know what I mean? And blow shit up. So we would have 80s movie trivia to see who was on the gun, on the sights, and you'd have to come up, you know, win the trivia. We'd be like PB&J with the crust cut off. You know. What was that? No, I can't remember. Was that Breakfast Club? Yeah, that was Breakfast Club, I believe. PB&J with the crust cut off. Yeah, that was the nerd.
Yeah. So that's basically what the military is. It's like the Breakfast Club, you know. You get like a ragtag group of people. I had a Mexican sergeant from like Barrios de Texas, a black and green Marine from Washington, D.C., my fire team leader, Couch. He was from Montana, and you know, we had a driver from North Carolina, Rusher, and all these great Marines, great Americans, and I'm glad they all came back. Some of them didn't though. Hildebrandt, he was someone we were really close to. He got killed out there in 05. By that time I was already out of the service, but he was in my vehicle nonetheless. And,
oh man,
you know,
that's the worst, man. To hear about it afterward. How did you feel like when you're home and they're out there still?
Yeah, you feel a sense of guilt. You know, definitely getting out, you feel that guilt for sure, and they lay it on to you thick. But man,
I didn't.
I just,
you know why? Because I went right back. I went right back. I was still there. I was there for 4 years, man. So it's like I never got that. Like they're like, hey, did you feel guilty that your guys were still out there fighting? I'm like, no, because I'd run into them at the PX. I'm like, hey, what's up, guys? But I was working on a different mission. But I was like, yeah. So like I never got to feel that. And by the time I left, it was already dying down. And then I still supported it, but from like a desk back home. But I was at two joint commands. Yeah. But how did you feel? You wanted to go back, or?
You know, part of you always wants to go back. I still want to go back.
Yeah, I do too. I can't. You know, I'm a detriment. I'd be a detriment, man. I'd be the weak link. That's what I used to tell everybody. I'm like, are you the weak? I had my guy cry once. He was so scared, my lance corporal, and I'm like, you're the weak link. You're the one that's gonna get us all killed.
Oh man, they probably wouldn't even want me to be a sandbag.
And now I'll be the weak link. Yeah.
But I'll say, you know,
I'll be an effective sandbag.
I was good with what I did out there, and I finished my enlistment. I did 5 years, and I didn't want to put my mom through that kind of sorrow anymore. And you know, it just if I was going to continue doing I would rather do it as a contractor. Yeah. Or I would probably like re-enlist and get into like maybe Army Special Forces. Yeah. But I definitely did love being a corpsman very much, And I had other visions and things that I wanted to do. I envisioned myself being an artist. Sometimes when you're in a tight situation in life and you're doing your service, you're like, okay, what would I rather be doing after this?
But you found it, Bikes for Vets.
Yeah, I mean, we're constantly evolving, and I didn't know about cycling back in those days. But I was pursuing photography and even photojournalism, but I just didn't find it to be as rewarding as the medical field and giving back and working at the VA in the emergency department in the front line of veterans' health, mental health. I used to do a lot of one-to-one on Baker Act patients, patients that are deemed dangerous to society for whatever mental health reason. They're usually not taken to jail. Usually they're police escorted, and a police officer from the VA will be watching over the patient along with a health technician, which is what I was. And I got that job just for being a Navy corpsman. So if they ever tell you, you can't get a job because you're in the Navy corpsman, and
we talked about that. We talked about that earlier.
So you get that.
Yep. But back to Iraq before we stop talking about that, and I think that brings us close to the end. We're at 2 hours. Is there anything that happened in Iraq that was real traumatic? Because I want to talk about that. We wanted to segue into PTSD. I want to leave on the note of because I don't think we talked about post trauma.
Yeah.
That brings you trauma. You don't got to talk about the specific incident. You can be as detailed or little or as much as detailed as you want. But was there anything that you think make things difficult in your life to this day, or? Because I think we all do to some extent. But maybe you don't want to share it, and that's fine too.
You know what? Honestly, I don't feel anything about it as far as that. I feel bad for the Marines that we lost, the sailors that we lost, service members that we lost, any innocent civilians that we hurt. But I have absolutely no hard feelings about anything that I did out there or didn't do. And if I could do it over again, I would do it again. And I carry it forever forever. It's with me, and I feel like it's a gift. It's a gift, and I don't see it as a bad thing to be a certain way because of extreme experiences. I'm a part of a warrior cult that not everybody gets to say that they're a part of, especially as a U.S. Navy sailor. It's an honor to serve alongside Marines and just share that legacy.
As a devil doc, absolutely. Yeah. That's a completely different experience than what people understand. That's why Marines have so much respect for corpsmen.
Yeah, that's what I signed up for, is that experience, that camaraderie. To me, that was like the epitome of being a corpsman. It doesn't get much better than that.
Yeah, and you know what?
And I did it.
And corpsmen always gave you the vibe, like most corpsmen. Like I told you, like the one corpsman in Iraq, it's just that was a fluke though. That was a fluke because 99% of the corpsmen that I served with, I loved. Doc Merce, Doc Burgos, Doc frickin' Cronin.
Yeah, there's some shitbag fucking corpsmen out there for sure.
Yeah, but I'm not gonna mention his name. But the ones that I served with, I love those guys. To this day, man, they're freaking cool because they were like either they gave you that big brother or dad vibe. Like they wanted to take care of you, looking out for you. You know what I mean? They're like, hey man, watch your feet or this and that. And it was coming from a genuine place, and it was coming from like an efficient place. Like motherfucker, now I'm gonna have to fucking fix you again later on. Yeah. But yeah, they had to wipe our noses, and I really appreciated that growing up as a young Marine. Like because you could always go to Doc. Doc was like the chaplain. Like, as a young Marine, I'm like I could well, I can go to the doc because, I could talk to him about shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like a comic relief.
And he's not going to be such an asshole to me. He ain't going to chew me out because he's also doesn't feel like he's a sergeant. You know what I mean? But he's there to nurture and take care of Marines. He ain't going to break you down. Like I never met a doc that broke Marines down. Like, hey, you asshole, da 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 da.
Yeah.
I never ran into that. They were always the guy to help. You go to the big brother of the group. He was big daddy or big brother. You know what I mean? So I really respected that. The devil doc. So awesome, brother. Well, shoot, man. I mean, where are we at? I think that's good. I think that covers. Oh, we wanted to talk about post trauma. So I was gonna. Yeah. So as far as the disorder, I just want to end on that because we had that conversation earlier before the podcast about disorder. I disagree that it's a disorder. And my argument is throughout human history, men were were hunters, and women were gatherers, and we were out there hunting, and hunting means being violent, whether it's to another creature or to competitor human beings, for territory, for whatever. I don't think they all have a disorder now. I think that's just part of human nature. Just like dogs don't have a disorder, or wild lions and tigers and creatures and bears and shit. They don't have a disorder when they snap apart some creature for their survival. So I don't think we have disorders. And 1% of the populace has to be us. And that's just the way it is. I don't think we're labeled with a disorder. Are we different? Yes. That's why I use specifically the warfighter sanctuary, because the priority is the warfighter, the guys that have experienced some of this shit. Now, and before we talk about that, I by no means was kicking in doors. You were. I by no means was kicking in doors. And I could tell you on my 8-month deployment, we were on mission every day though, like every day or every other day. So it wasn't from a lack of trying. They just didn't want to fuck with us because they knew that we were JTACs. We called close air support. You fuck with us, we're going to call an airstrike on you. So they didn't fuck with us. And we were rolling with SF when we did, or even alone, they wouldn't fuck with us. We had to dress up like Ukrainians to lure them to fuck with us. That's how bad it got.
Oh yeah, the Trojan horse mission.
That's why you see those pictures of me in Ukrainian uniforms. Is we dressed up like Ukrainians so they would shoot at us so we could fucking kill them. You know what I mean?
That's what was going on at that time too. Like
they didn't want to fuck with JTACs.
Big on that.
They didn't want to fuck with JTACs. So, but before I lose my train of thought, so for that, like I don't have trauma. I remember being with Ukrainian snipers, and I'm spotting for them with my Viper. 600 meters, click, 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 and I'm seeing them snap off those bad guys. I don't give a shit about those bad guys. I'm fine. It's the collateral, like I said earlier, collateral damage.
Yeah, the collateral damage. That's what it is. And
that was it. Because everything else, I felt like this is what I trained for. This is what my whole life I wanted to do. And these are bad guys, legitimately. I've seen what they do. These are not good people. So I'm just cleaning house. I don't care about that. But when it came to collateral damage, that was it.
Yeah, I describe it as.
But I don't have a disorder over it. Is my point. Like we don't have disorders. That's just part of life, man. As is before the modern history, where we were used to air conditioning and just chilling at home. But men were hunters, man. We were out there fighting wars, tribal. They don't have all disorders. That's just part of being a man. Does that make sense?
Oh, 100%. But it doesn't really make you a man either to have to go through war. But it is.
No, I'm not saying that. But I don't think we have disorders. It's like I don't like the fact that they say veterans have disorders. You have post-trauma disorder. I don't even think
the VA is using that kind of language anymore. Honestly, I think they're just calling it PTS. That's what they're calling it.
They're calling it PTS? It should be called PTS. It should not be called PTSD. I'm against. So basically the point is I'm opposed to the term PTSD. I think this is just what humans are, just like animals that have to fight for survival.
If you think about it now, there's like whole industries built up on people developing hypervigilance, training civilians to be more aware how to handle firearms, how to handle any type of situation that comes your way. There's a great group called Sovereign Defense. They're based out of South Florida, and it's ran by a Marine and his wife, and they do amazing things for the community.
What do they do?
Well, they offer services.
I'm already interested.
Yeah, they offer services that are ideal for the modern American's family, or anybody. It doesn't have to be American. Anybody who wants to upgrade their survivability.
This sounds like my business plan.
And be hard to kill. Make you and your family hard to kill. So,
this is interesting.
An environment where, the family, your wife, your girlfriend, you as a civilian who doesn't have that military experience, you learn military style tactics, discipline.
I'll tell you why and why do you think that's important?
I think it's important for being a well-rounded individual, but you never know what's going to go on in the world, especially down here in South Florida where the infrastructure gets damaged by natural disasters. You have to be able to be resourceful, because what happens here, we lose electricity, we lose power. So, the gangsters doing nasty gangster shit, they're still
that's why we need the training.
So you got to be ready.
Yes, no, absolutely. And I guess I should have phrased it better, but I guess what I was getting at was I think people are too complacent Because I'm going to tell you what my business plan was when I first wanted, before I got into real estate, which I'll talk about that in a second. And it's that people get complacent. They go to the range and they shoot at a paper target that doesn't move and doesn't shoot back. And they carry a gun everywhere they go. And they think they're ready and prepared.
Yeah.
And they're not at all. They're not even close to being prepared because they're not training in an environment that simulates. Also, if someone breaks in their house, do they have a plan? Do they have an evac?
Right.
No evac plan. Oh, do you have women and children in your house? Yeah, my wife and 2 kids. Do they have any idea of what happens if someone kicks in? Do you have a rally point? Do you have a plan? Do you have a frago?
You need that.
Do you have warning order? I mean, do you have any of this? Like, at least basic shit. Like, if something happens, you run to mommy and daddy's bathroom because that's the hardest point of the house right now, you know? And or maybe they have maybe a special wall which is bulletproof. I don't know, you know? But whatever. But at least have a safe room or something just, you know, called out so they know. Some type of basic tactic, because the last thing you want to do is shoot your own kid when someone breaks into your house because of lack of communication or preparedness. So that was my concept. I wanted to like train people at their house, and I wanted to use airsoft. I'm big on airsoft, paintball. People go, oh, sim rounds. Yeah, I know sim rounds are cooler, but guess what? Sim rounds, it takes a lot more preparation, a lot more safety concern. I go, how about airsoft? We do it quicker, faster, and we do more of it at a low budget price. You know, I'd rather get the reps in, and then we can save some sim rounds for like, you know, one time we'll do a sim rounds, you know, but let's do fucking everyday airsoft. Let's do everyday this and that. You know, yeah, we're doing cops and robbers, bang, bang. So it's not exactly realistic, but you're getting the movements in, you're getting the footwork in, you're getting the high, low, you know, peak high, then peak low, you know, don't peak exactly in the same spot, you know, unless you want to get sniped.
Yeah, the movements, that's everything.
Movements.
Muscle memory.
Muscle
Breaking
memory,
of bad habits.
not when you're clearing room, not sticking your elbow out. So all these little things, you know, so they see the elbow.
Trigger discipline.
You know,
That's
you're
everything.
working with somebody. What if you train your wife or girlfriend also to cover your 6, and now she can learn, you know, the video died. I'm out of space. Oh shit. Adapt and improvise.
Improvise, adapt, and overcome.
That's right. I'm gonna go like this here. Hold on.
You want me to see if I could get some memory out of mine?
No.
Okay.
We're just gonna keep it rolling because I got the sound. I'll sync the sound and we'll just go from here, bro. I'll sit next to you. I got this extra chair, and we will adapt and overcome. So where were we? I think I'm in the shot. Let me just make sure I'm in the shot. We'll just go on. We're not gonna mess with the cameras. All right. So we had to go to this. Okay. So where were we? We were at
we were talking about your plan with the sim rounds.
Yeah, so basically, just agreeing with with these folks. They're, what are they called? Let's give them a plug. Even though I have like 5 people watching my podcast right now.
Oh, so they're called Sovereign. Oh, my friend's business.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's called Sovereign Defense, and they basically train civilians, mostly military veterans.
And they're veterans.
And the owner is veteran. His wife is not veteran, but she is well versed and well trained.
Of course,
And he's a weapons instructor from the Marine Corps.
Nice.
So
PMI.
I believe just about every single Marine is like a weapons instructor, qualified person, anyways. But you know, amazing people.
I disagree with that, but okay. Yeah. Maybe grunt. I would say every grunt is bad.
Well, that's all I know. I haven't really served with like you know
exactly.
the other sides. You know.
Because I would say I'll disagree with that.
See, I was always with like you know, infantry dudes, scouts.
Gotcha. Yeah. Those guys are all experts. Absolutely.
Know, LAV
Absolutely.
guys, crewmen.
Yeah. Those guys are locked on.
Combat crewmen. Yeah, all locked on. Yeah. Highly motivated individuals.
But that's my point. Like I agree. So sovereign defense, outstanding, because that's exactly what was my concept. I wanted to have a modular shoot house for airsoft that would simulate your house. Like you give me the blueprints of your house, take some measurements, or I'll go to your house and do it, and then we're gonna go here and we're gonna do it. And then with your kids and your wife with airsoft, and we're gonna simulate someone breaking in your house. And that was my
that sounds like fun, actually.
Isn't that awesome?
That brings like the whole family together. Like
awesome?
kids, we're gonna have fun, and we're gonna learn how to survive at the same time.
I wanted us to be doing this on the weekends, and I wanted us to have modular, and then we could have family versus family, you know, like shootouts, and like with airsoft, so it's safe. Like I had this whole concept. I really liked it, but what I found was people are happy and content with just going to the range every week, shooting at a paper target, and carrying their weapon every day, and they're like, you know what? I don't need training. I'm good to go. Because I wanted to supine. Like I was a firearm instructor. I was a Florida K license instructor, and I was also a. So that means the guys that get the licenses, I approve you, and give you your
Yeah.
certificate, or your documentation for your certificate, I should say. And well, anyway, I did that, and I did the NRA certifications, whatever. But my point was like, I would teach people from the supine, from the ground. Like, why are you teaching people to shoot from their back? I'm like, well, what happens when you get shot at? You've never been shot at because you go to the range every day and you shoot at paper targets, right? So yeah, you go into your badass Rambo freaking, position.
Yeah, make yourself a big old target.
Your commando position. Well, no, that's kind of how I shot too. But at the same time,
it depends on the situation.
If you're getting rounds down, you're gonna jump to the ground, but you still want to be accurate. So I'm big on teaching from the sides, teaching from the back. I go because you may end up there, and you don't want to start figuring it out while it's happening.
Weavers and isosceles.
Yes, you don't want to try to figure it out while you're there. Yeah, and But we'll talk about guns all day because I had to change my stance because I used to go from Weaver to isosceles, and now I am a hybrid of both because of my injuries. So when I fire, I always like to have my weapon nose over toes, which gives me some weight to the front. So on the recoil, it's easier to get right back to where I started. A lot of people will shoot like this, but in the recoil, especially on a high cap round, like a 9mm on a freaking Beretta, which was issued, we shoot. It has such a big kick because it's such a light weapon. So I learned, now I like to lean forward, but I got a lower back kick problem.
Yeah.
So now I can't do that as much as I used to. So now I'm a little bit Weaver, a little bit isosceles, but it just feels better, So I had to adjust my firing stance just because of my damn injuries from jumping out of planes and carrying 100 pounds of gear.
Yeah, that's serious, man. What that does to your body.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's why we're broken. I mean, because you were with these guys,
Yeah, for sure. Like part of my job as a corpsman when I was with the headquarters of 1st Recon was processing the Recon Marines to their schools. So Halo School, Jump School, Dive School, SEER School.
I went to
they all have like special medical requirements, so we have to make sure that their labs are up to date.
Where did they go to SEER? Where would they mostly go to SEER? Was it a Marine SEER or was it a Navy SEER?
I believe it was a combined command SEER that they have based out of Coronado.
Okay, yeah, I heard about that one. That one's a tough one.
Yep.
That was a tough one. I went to New Brunswick, Maine, which sucked because I went in February and it was freezing. But that was a great course, man. New Brunswick was a Navy base.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, right there on the Canadian border.
So
freezing my ass off.
All right, yeah. I've heard about that place.
Yep. So I went there. But yeah, brother. Well, dude, what an outstanding career, man. What an awesome career. And our first sailor. Well, brother, thank you so much for coming. Is there anything else?
Thank you for having me.
Is there anything else you want to leave on? Before you go? And hey, we're going to have you back. Updates, especially because you're doing something. Talk about a little bit, before you go, talk a little bit about the bike, the events you have coming up.
All right. So, thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah.
So I'm all about the bike racing. I love that, and for me, it's not so depending on the event. I have certain goals that are definitely healthy goals and high performance cycling that I'm working on. But I also like doing other events that aren't as high performance driven. That's more community driven, and it's like endurance gravel races, Mid-South. That was such a great event that I went to, and I would encourage any veteran who's looking into an introduction into endurance events to check out Mid-South. It's it's whatever you want it to be. If you want to go there and test your fitness and see what your ranking's going to be amongst people of your age group, or if you just want to enjoy the ride and just go on an adventure and meet people at all the stops. They have great sponsors, great people, great vibes. It's a great way of getting out of your shell and just meeting other people with cool things to have in common, health, adventure, and friendships and beer for some people. But like I said, it could be whatever you want it to be. So I think it was
beer in moderation. I'm not against alcohol in moderation. I'd be a hypocrite if I said that. I just don't like it to be the excessive, and I don't want it to be the point of why we're hanging out.
Yeah.
I want veterans to get together for other things, and we could have a beer on the side. But I don't want the purpose of us going is so we could just drink.
Oh, 100%.
It's just it brings the worst of us. It brings the weakest part of us out. as veterans, and that's why I'm not so pro. Although I like these other nonprofits that bring veterans together, even if they're using alcohol. I used to bring them out of isolation. I think as a springboard to get them out of isolation.
For sure,
there's a purpose for it. But I don't think as a long. But then I see it almost like a cult of these guys, these drunks that just follow each other from state to state, drinking and drinking and drinking. It's just like a party. It's like what girls gone wild or boys gone wild.
Yeah.
And I don't. I'm like, I don't know, man. I don't know where I'm at with that, because I do also love hanging out. I've gone to some of these events and I enjoy it too. But at the same time, I'm like, man, I want something real. And I think, getting people physically fit, getting veterans physically fit, because we identify ourselves as warriors also. And when we lose that, we get fat. We get immobile. You can't lift any weights, can't run, can't do anything.
Fucking erectile dysfunction. You got to get your blood pressure right.
Yes.
Do cardio, lower your blood pressure,
cholesterol levels.
Yeah, all that
happens
stuff.
from keeping
it gets
the PT.
real.
But not just that. Like, I'm talking more about the identity, the psychological aspect. But that as well. That's very critical, especially as a corpsman. Of course, that's the first thing you're going to think is fitness. But I'm saying is that we identify ourselves as warriors. Now I'm fat. Now I can't run. Now I can't do this. Now I have less self-esteem. I'm like, I used to be this. Now I'm living in the past. Like, no, man.
Yeah, it's about right now.
You still got a full life.
Yes.
Exactly. You still got a full life. So ride your bike. Get physically fit. How did that happen? Well, what if I'm around a lot of veterans that are still doing that? I'm like, wait, I'm 50, but this guy's doing it? Hey, if he's doing it, why can't I do it? You know what I mean? And then now that's a positive reinforcement and positive, you're seeing all these other people doing it. I'm like, man, I can fucking do this. That's what we're trying to bring, and that's what you're trying to do with,
and I hope
your
people
bikes.
see me out there too. Like, man, I see fucking Doc Medina out there fucking doing his thing.
Yeah.
Shit, I could do that, man.
Exactly.
That fucking motherfucker do it, I could do it too.
Yep.
100%. And I really want people to do their own bikes for vets, or anything that you could come up with, because I'm also open to exercise equipment, unwanted exercise equipment, and give them out to vets who isolate, who don't want to go to the gym, who can't afford to go to the gym.
Yeah.
Let's get those guys workout equipment that people don't want. Yeah. So,
That's a great program. Because you could do a full workout. Like, if you gave veterans two 20-pound weights and a booklet or
adaptive workout equipment too, for disabled veterans.
A bench, 220 pounds.
That's a game changer.
You can do everything.
That's everything.
You can do everything.
Some kettlebells.
Yeah. You can do everything, right?
Exactly. So it doesn't have to be cycling, but that's just what works for me and something that I can relate to and my way of giving back.
Yeah.
And
that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, brother, I'm glad you came out here. We finally got to meet, because we know each other through mutual friends, civilian friend Rennie. Yeah. We know each other through Rennie for years. Rennie first started talking about you years ago. He's like, oh man, you gotta meet Doc Medina, this, that, the other thing. I'm like, bro, I gotta meet this guy. And it took, 3 or 4 years to finally meet Doc Medina in the flesh. I'm so glad I got to meet you, brother. I hope you're involved with VeteranNet, because you got great vision. I want to support everything you're doing with the bikes. I think that's phenomenal.
Oh, thank you.
And what I really love about Bike for Vets is that it is sustainable long term without you having to beg for money. Because I'm opposed to that. Because you know why? Now, it's not that I'm opposed for other people to do it. I don't like doing it. I don't like doing fundraisers. I don't like asking people for money. I don't want to go out and that become like I have to set up a party to get all these people together. That's not why I want to do this, man. I want to save veterans' lives.
Yeah, this comes from the heart, by the way.
Exactly. I want to save veteran lives, but I don't want to ask for money. So I like plans that are self-sustained. Your plan makes sense because you're reaching out to condos that are going to get rid of these bikes anyway. So really what you need is manpower. You need more people that want to support doing what you're doing, so you can force multiply that. You can have a guy in Palm Beach that does the bikes. Yeah. You can get a guy in Broward. You can get another
veteran. Chapters.
That's what I'm saying. And you do that by having, let's say, I wish a Warfighter Sanctuary in Miami, a Warfighter Sanctuary in Broward, a Warfighter Sanctuary in Palm Beach. And then those are your satellite places for physically to meet up there and then spread the word. And then every month you have a whole meeting or Zoom meeting with all the different chapters. And man, that's how you get all these bikes out there. And then you have veterans coming out, riding in packs, veterans riding in 6 groups every weekend. That's how to me, that's how you prevent suicide, or at least mitigate it. And then they have their tribe.
Having hobbies, tinkering, you know, with a bike, like you always have to fix something. So and also, it's a great hobby. I like it, for me.
Yes, but also just having any hobby, but specifically that one, the reason I equate it to like golf. People make great business deals while they're playing golf. Well, why can't it be when we're riding bikes together? Why can't it be like you're riding your bike, I'm riding my bike, and you happen to do this?
People do it.
That's what I'm saying. So, but if we had these communities,
more of us, yeah.
We don't have it enough. So if we have these communities, then more of that will be happening.
Yeah, definitely a part of the mission is some group rides. I just don't want to give people bicycles out there, and leave them hanging. I definitely want to get like a group ride going.
At least once a month.
Yeah, and an in-service on how to fix basic repairs, how to have that kind of confidence on the road.
I think that's a great idea.
You get a flat, how to just fix it easily. You could buy all the parts at Walmart.
Dude, we could do it with Rennie. Dude, we're gonna get Rennie involved.
Yeah.
Because you could do it, right? And then you have a workshop, and everyone's invited. Veterans, and anyone's invited to just witness it. And then you give a workshop on how to change a tire on the road. What equipment you get, where to go on Amazon. Here are the Amazon links. How to do that, and that's like a hip pocket class, like we used to say in the field. You give a hip pocket class on how to do that, and then you guys go on a ride, and then have a picnic. And maybe the families are waiting. Maybe the families are waiting at the end with sandwiches and like the families, the wives, the kids. The kids are too small to ride with us, or whoever can, or Rennie. I know Rennie's injured, so that could be Rennie.
I'll be pulling Rennie.
We'll have Rennie out there, and then we meet at the end, and we have a little barbecuecito.
Yeah, no. I'm in South. I've seen people there on their bicycles, pulling like a baby thing, but with their cat inside.
Yeah.
So wild. Yeah, so cool. Yeah, that cat goes on all their adventures.
Well, all right, Papo. I think we're at 2 hours. Thank you so much for coming. We're going to have you back. Updates on your rides, updates on what you're doing.
Oh, sweet.
Thank you so much, bro. Great to finally meet you in the flesh.
Yeah, nice to meet you.
All right, brother.
Semper Fi.
And remember to like, share. Oh, we ran out of battery, space. Oh, no, storage space. So we had to join forces here on the one camera. But we'll link up the audio. But remember to subscribe, like, and share. And thanks again for joining. And remember that we are sponsored by the 501c3 nonprofit organization, the Veterans Resource Network Foundation, which empowers veteran businesses by promoting them and helping veterans to come together so that they know where to go and what to do when they get out of the service and trying to transition to the civilian sector. They can at least reach out to one of our veterans posted and find out, just like in this case, they can reach out and be like, hey, there's bikes. You put the keyword in veteran. You go to Veteranette website.
Bikes for vets.
But even if you go to Veteranette website, the directory, and you just type bicycles, he'll pop up, and then anything related to bicycles, and then you can reach out to Joe Medina, and he got your back, he got your six, because that's what corpsmen do. Double docks. Hoorah. All right, brother.
Shut.
That wraps up another episode of Warfighter Sanctuary. Thank you for listening. For more information on Vetranet and the businesses featured in this podcast, be sure to check out our website at vetranet.com. That's www.Victor Echo Tango, Romeo Echo, November Echo Tango.com. Become a Patreon subscriber and get VIP access to the Blue Falcon Show, where we continue the interview with their unfiltered thoughts on a range of topics. Some serious, some trivial, always entertaining. Like and follow our Facebook page to join the community at facebook.com/groups/Vetranet. Intro music provided by Army veteran Sabo of NSA Entertainment. Post-show music provided by Marine veteran Justin Martin of JLM Entertainment. Voiceover provided by Marine veteran Mark Denstead of voicedbymark.com. Until next time, remember, hiring a veteran is thanking a veteran. Thank you for your support.